Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel for a episode of No Offense, All Offense, the YouTube live stream talk show I do, comedian Joleen Lunzer and Pop Culture Vulture, where we talk about things trending in pop culture, reality television shows. We roast, we recap, we take a comedic look at these things. Today, we're going to be talking about the interview or conversation that has been trending everywhere. If you haven't seen it, we're going to be talking all about Katt Williams and Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe has a podcast channel, Club Shay. I honestly had never listened to Club Shay. I asked my husband, who is this guy? And he said he was a tight end for the Broncos. And I said, cool, don't know what that means. Anyways, but Katt Williams, obviously being a comedian, I know all about the Katt Williams. And I find him to be so very entertaining. Whether you agree with his takes or not, I think this interview is definitely trending and striking a chord in people because we are so not used to people speaking their truth or people unapologetically just being who they are and sharing their story. Everything now is for profit. Some corporation owns everyone and everything, and all of us and our iPhones are tracking us constantly. So it is fun to leave the matrix and have someone who has made a name for himself and success and enough money where he can go, no, thank you. I don't care. And Katt Williams was calling out everyone in this interview. So it's basically Katt Williams exposes everyone. So we're going to roast it. We're going to recap it the way we do, taking a comedic look at all things. Now, you might not agree with my take. I give my unfiltered opinion. You might have your own opinions, but that's great. That's how the world goes round. We all have our own opinions. You're free to have yours in the chat and also in the comment section. We can agree to disagree and have a discussion. And we don't have to hate each other because, like Katt Williams said in this interview, there were so many little clips and these little insights that only Katt Williams can kind of give us in these rare interviews that he does where, division divides indefinitely or something. I think I'm paraphrasing that, but it is a culture that, we are in a society and a culture right now that is very much divide and conquer, and so they divide us political lines, they divide us in so many ways so that us little guys, we truly never can get ahead or have a voice because we're too busy fighting each other to see the real fight that exists, because it's easy to kick on your level or below your level. It's hard to kick up. It's hard to kick up being the forces that be, or as Katt Williams would call it, I don't want to get demonetized this early, but the Illuminati, okay? Or the cabal, if you will. So, we're going to have some fun taking a look at some of the things he said, dissecting some of the things he said, but it was a lot. So this interview was, let's see how many days ago. It was a couple days ago. And since then, Shannon Sharpe has come out and had a response. Pretty much a lot of the people that he addressed in this interview has had a response to this. And I believe, let me just go back to this channel. So if you want to watch the full interview, we'll watch a little bit of it, but definitely it's almost 3 hours and it has 30 million views. And you guys, this is huge and says something to media in general and says something to, the corporate powers that be, because we're in a TikTok world. We're in the TikTok universe. People don't think, people complain about the length of Martin Scorsese movies, and those are Scorsese. And those are like 3 hours. And people are like, damn, that was long. People complain about what's the other guy that's obsessed with feet, allegedly? Chell? Who's that guy that's obsessed with Quentin Tarantino? Thank you. I just need to hear my husband's voice. And I would remember, not that he's a creepy foot person, but maybe he is on the DL. Anyways, Quentin Tarantino movies, sometimes we're like, these are too long. But people will sit through, whether you ingest it all in one sitting or you come back in little parts. That means 30 million people, 30 million views on this. We're willing to sit through some portion of 3 hours, and quite a bit, because it wasn't like there was a boring part of this conversation. And like I said, I had no idea who Shannon Tharp. I'm thinking of Sharon Tharp. Okay. I had no idea that Club Shay existed. I had no idea who Shannon Sharpe was. I had to, again, I was like, who? But he, fantastic interviewing style because it was so conversational. And to know that, oh, this is like a foosball player did this. And he just let him speak. And that is what good interviewing should be, or good conversations. And that's why a lot of people turn to podcasts, because now, journalistic integrity, come on, does it exist? I don't know. I don't want to put down everyone or put everyone into a category, but it really is. You want to get that gotcha moment. It's quick sound bites. It's people just reading or watching the titles of things, the headlines, and then they go with that for news. So the fact that, he was able to engage with Katt, able to let him speak and react to those things, even though he has his cue cards, he knows what he's going to say. He knows the points he wants to hit, the things he wants to ask him. But if your person is as interesting as Katt Williams is, you just let him go. You let him go on the tangent, and I mean, you will reap the benefits of that, whether it is, knowledge, views, anything, which is exactly what Shannon Sharpe did. So I was just, I mean, there's so much to dive into, but we're going to break it down into parts here. But again, if you go, I'm going to show you I'm sure you guys all know about it. I mean, it's not like, but just in case, let's just say there's someone who's like, no, I did not watch that. I don't know why Katt Williams is trending. Here you go. It's the Club Shay podcast. Shannon has, so many big names on his show. And a lot of those names, oops, I didn't mean to do that, are people that Katt addressed because he had seen his interviews and seen these people on Shannon's show, and he had seen what they said, and he was like, that is not correct, sir. So he wanted to come in and give his opinion. And also, it doesn't hurt. I mean, Katt is not an idiot. As much as he says, he doesn't promote the same way as others, and he doesn't have to, he doesn't have to go do the radio stations in the morning, or probably, he's at a level now where he doesn't have to go be like he said in this interview, please come watch my show, please come watch my show, because people are just showing up because he has built that reputation for himself. And that's ideal. If you can build your own brand and the dude has ownership of all of his material. There are not, I would suffice to say, there are not, the majority of comedians probably don't have ownership of all of their material. Very few, very rare. But he's a comedian's comedian, or a people's comedian, if you will. So he might not have ever got the hype of corporate, Hollywood and things like that, like a Kevin Hart or a Tiffany Haddish. He was able to build that on his own, which actually is ideal. That's like everyone's dream. People even turn to YouTube for this. However, YouTube can be problematic because you're still putting all of your content and stuff into, obviously, this corporation being YouTube. And at any time they can go, your channel's gone, which is why a lot of comedians have turned also to Patreon and other places, or their own websites, and putting their own material or podcast there just in case, because, right now YouTube kind of has I don't know if I want to say monopoly, but they have the power when it comes to like long form media. And it's the number one place people go to for this style. TikTok's got the short form on lockdown, even though YouTube's coming in with the shorts. Reels are decent on Instagram, but that's all short form. But when it comes to like long form video content creation, it is definitely one that, you're going to go to YouTube. It's YouTube. People say, I hate YouTube. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of options. So the fact that Katt Williams he don't even have to go through that. If he was at a level that he had to, promote himself in that way or build himself up, he could have done it on his own YouTube channel. But I don't even think he has a YouTube channel. I would be surprised if he did, because they're going to take a cut. Katt Williams is getting the cut of it all. So I know I kind of started this, but this is fascinating to me as a comedy nerd and just like a Matrix nerd and a, conspiracy theorist nerd and a person who just loves a truth teller, whatever that means in today's society. I wanted to get right into it. So smash that like, you guys. Subscribe if you haven't already. Again, sound off in the chat. If you want to support the channel further, you can always send a super chat. I'll highlight your comment. You can send a super thanks after the video post or hit me up on the Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. It's all below on the screen and in the description, and follow me on social media. So there you go. There you go. YouTube is going to take their 30% because everything you make on YouTube, they take 30%. Yes. Katt Williams is a writer. And in this comedy world, Katt Williams has always reminded us that he's a writer, because you'd be surprised how many comedians aren't writers, buy their material, have other people write for them, or like he's accusing Cedric the Entertainer of, steal jokes and material. Oh goodness. So that was one of the big joke thieves. It's kind of it's the worst crime you could do in comedy is to, there's being a hack, or hacky, big deal. But to be a joke thief, that is an unknown joke thief, or an unapologetic or apologetic and then forget you apologize, like Katt Williams is saying that Cedric the Entertainer did. I mean, that, like Monica says, yeah, writes his own jokes. Alan says, comedian's comedian. Hey, Elizabeth, has a very loyal following. He said Cedric had admitted to kind of, or knowingly took his joke, or they've had the conversation previously. And then most recently, when it was brought up again, he was like, I don't recall, counsel. And Katt Williams was like, what? Apparently, Cedric the Entertainer saw Katt Williams performing this joke that had been a closer of his. And by closer, I mean it's the last joke you do in a set, whether long or short. It'll get you the laughs, get you off the stage, ties it together. Your closer is usually your strongest bit that you're going to do at the end. Well, apparently Katt Williams had been doing this on BET twice. So it had been seen on television twice, and was in the promotion for the show that it was on. And Cedric went to the Comedy Store, saw him perform, complimented him on the joke, and then took the joke. And a couple years later, he saw him closing with it on the Kings of Comedy tour. But you'd be surprised how often that happens. And there is a such thing as parallel thought. There is no, they say there's no original thought anymore. Like everything's been said, done, all the things. But when someone, if it's a dumb bit about something that is, like something silly, like I had a Crocodile Dundee joke. Well, then they took it's a Crocodile Dundee, and that is I don't even know I'm thinking the Crocodile Hunter, something so stupid, and that's why when I started in comedy, I was told by people that, have been doing it longer than me, or mentors, if you will, to go with what write about your life, write about your specific shit, because it's harder for people to steal. Now, I don't always know if that's true, because people will steal it, because according to Katt Williams, Steve Harvey stole his homeless story. So, I mean, it's like, wow, so much. So apparently Cedric stole this joke, changed one detail of it, which was the fact that Katt Williams, the joke included his car, and Cedric changed it to a spaceship or something. And this was also the accusations that came out years ago that Joe Rogan brought out, and Ari Shaffir, against Carlos Mencia, or Carlos Mencia, as they called him for a long time, was that he had stolen a border joke, I believe, from Ari. And Joe Rogan now infamously called him out at the Comedy Store. And this is before Joe Rogan was the Joe Rogan. This is news radio Joe Rogan. This is like, who's that little guy, Joe Rogan? Nobody knew who Joe Rogan was then. Now everybody does, like it or hate it, and Katt Williams talked about Joe Rogan in this conversation as well. And Carlos stole the the joke about, I think it was like a border, like a fence joke or something about, building the fence. But it was word for word when they compared the two. And Ari had been touring with Carlos for a while. So sometimes you can say, well, you know, oh, there are times when I write a joke or I think of something, I'm like, have I heard that before? Did I unconsciously, because that's why I don't like to watch like a ton of comedy, because I've watched so much throughout my life, obviously. I love it. I love the art form and stuff, but I don't want to watch too much where then I'm watching so much comedy that I end up doing things I've seen subconsciously. But if anyone ever was like, hey, I had this joke and it's word for word, I'd be like, what? I'm amazing. How did I do that? But I definitely would stop doing the joke. But it seems that Cedric the Entertainer was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. The timelines don't add up. And in this interview, Katt Williams was like, yes, they do. Here's the timeline. He did say the wrong year, I think. But then he corrected himself. So, I mean, I don't know. It's hard in these situations where Katt Williams just lays it out. I find myself being like, that's believable. There's just people who exist who are more believable. Now, I went and watched a little bit of the Steve Harvey interview that was referenced in Katt Williams' interview. And I was like, Steve Harvey just seems like he's doing the most. He gives me that vibe. I'll tell you why in a second here. Chickenhead, thank you so much for the super chat. First super chat of the live says Katt is brutal. And honestly, he is known for it. Happy Sunday. He is. He is known for that. Oh, Rebecca says the car was a UFO. Okay. And Gary Owens, I saw Gary Owens is referenced in this as, you have to sell your soul to Hollywood. And that's the reason he was implying that Gary Owens, if you don't know who Gary Owens is, you can go check him out. He's been around forever. That's why he hasn't popped off in the same way as some of these other more mainstream comedians, because he was unwilling. I think that's what the implication was, to do that. But like SM is saying, Gary Owens said on his podcast he remembers Katt's joke on BET Comic View because Gary hosted it. I mean, it's you believe him. So back to the Steve Harvey of it all. So Steve Harvey is talking about okay, he's got the homeless story, cool, whatever. Lots of people, that could be their story. Lots of creatives, they start, you're really broke. I remember Bill Burr telling stories about how he was in New York and he was only eating like spaghetti because that's all. He was just doing mics, eating spaghetti. It's like the grind, because comedy does not pay until it pays, if it ever pays. Obviously, if you become a name and you're touring and you're headlining, you create a brand for yourself, an audience, you're going to get more money. But there's a lot of comedians who tour who aren't making very much of anything. And when you're first starting out, you're not getting paid. You are not getting paid. You are they always say it's a marathon, not a sprint. You are paying your dues. You are going to mics. You are doing lots of shows for free as you kind of develop your voice and, work on your craft. So, but Steve Harvey, he's got the homeless story, and he's always like, he was criticized years ago because he was talking about, you can't sleep and be successful. You can sleep. You can get a little nap, Stevie. And, it didn't do Steve Harvey any good, because he's out there talking about now how he is, he's got some health issues. And so he had to work on that. And now I think he's okay. He's wearing light wash jeans and dressing like a 30 something. So I think he's okay. But, he's got this homeless story. He's got, quite a few wives in his background, which Katt called out in this interview. But he also had this story that he was telling about his stuttering problem. Okay. He says he had a stutter. Okay. I would suffice to say a lot of comedians probably started, there's something that draws you to that art form. Like you've had, either you were teased or you were, not everyone has the same story, but there's a lot of the same stories, or like a speech impediment. I was a stutterer when I was a kid. I still will fall back into stuttering, but I had a very bad stutter. But Steve Harvey goes on to say, not only did he have a stutter, he was like, there was a teacher, and it was 1919. Okay. And this teacher said to me, made fun of my stutter. and said, I'm paraphrasing him here, and said, do you see any, he wrote a paper or something, how he wanted to be famous or on TV. And she goes, do you see anyone in this area on TV? You'll never make it, basically. And it was like, oh my God, Lifetime movie, very dramatic. Like, how do all these dramatic stories happen in your life? You got to side eye someone who's got all of the Lifetime movie conspiracies, you're like, like, and then I was living off rocks, and you're like, rocks, like literal rocks. And then I had a stuttering problem, and everyone said, you can't come in here, stutterer. And you're like, that's a lot. And then I was in a coma and another coma. And I was like, Steve, it doesn't have to, you have money now. You don't have to. But he also wants them. You got to remember, you got to always follow the money, like my grandpa said. And you got to realize he's making a large portion of his money with books and motivational speaking and stuff. But Family Feud and his talk show, obviously, make a lot of money. But he's also, he has a lot more expenses now. So I just thought that was interesting. Let me pull up a different one. I want to play some of the clips here. But they have Club Shay made it a little easier for us to find just the people he called out, and we'll kind of, react to some of the things he called out. And as you'll see, he did a lot in the name of Bernie Mac and the Kings of Comedy, and he feels that Bernie Mac was mistreated by the Kings of Comedy. Bernie Mac himself, I think, felt some type of way because allegedly Steve Harvey was supposed to be his friend and called up the Ocean's 11 people and were like, JK, book me, hire me, I'll do it for less. And let me tell you, comedians will do that. Unfortunately, we're our own worst enemy, but it is all created by this system. Katt strikes me as the type, and there's a lot of them in comedy, and I myself want to be this way and try to be this way. If I want to roll with the people I roll with, and if I get an opportunity, I want to help out my friends or younger comics, and just give more voices to women in comedy. And so I feel like he's done that in a lot of ways. And so that he felt a particular I would say loyalty to Bernie Mac. And he's like, so then they wanted to they wanted to have me on Kings of Comedy. And I'm like, no. He's like, I saw how you did Bernie Mac. And you do know Bernie Mac, I mean, no offense, all offense to all the guys in the Kings of Comedy, but nobody was better than Bernie Mac. Nobody. Like, Bernie Mac was next level good. And there is a certain, these friendships, there's a certain jealousy. People that aren't secure in how good they are don't believe, when if you're not right in your own shit, if you're stealing shit, which he also accused Steve Harvey of stealing Mark Curry's act, and then his show, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. And I thought, you know what? Hanging with Mr. Cooper was a big TGIF show when I was growing up. And then as I got older, I saw that the Steve Harvey popped up and he had a show. And I'm like, I never even thought of how similar those shows were. And Mark Curry, I was just at the Improv, probably the Hollywood Improv, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. And Mark Curry just pulls up in the side room and heads up to the green room. And I'm like, oh my God, that is Hanging with Mr. Cooper, because it's like, holy shit. It's not like I'm going to see him in my world, in my little circle. Like, Mark Curry's not going to be popping up at shows I'm at, but he just happened to be. And, it's not like I was like, hey, Mark Curry. But, I smiled at him like, oh, hi, how you doing? And, just a smile back. That's my only interaction I've ever had with the guy. But very interesting that these allegations from Katt Williams of possible joke thievery, because there are some comedians, like I said, who will just, and people in Hollywood in general, who just will get ahead by any means. They don't care. There's no integrity. They don't care. And I've ran into these people, and I really like to stay away from these kind of people, because I get it to a sense in that they, the system is set up and kind of rigged in general, and it makes you rather than, the best thing to do would be to all create, all write, and create opportunities for each other. Bring your friends along, and work with the people that you believe in and think are talented and cool, rather than be competitive toward each other. But some people, when they don't believe in their own craft and when they're not writing their own jokes and they're stealing, then they know that you're better than them. Then they're gonna, they might try to uh, do that. They might try to go behind your back and take shows away from you, or be like, you should hire me for this. I'll do it for less money, which allegedly is what Steve Harvey did. And Bernie Mac's daughter has actually responded. And she says, she's not really in the comedy world. Her dad died, 15 or so years ago, but she remembers always hearing good things about Katt Williams, and she's never met him, but she feels like out of everyone, she'd have the most genuine conversation with him, like she did with her dad. So in a lot of ways, there's parallels between him and her dad, and them being kind of alike. And so it was nice to hear. For the most part, people that are reacting to this, you guys, they're all like, they're not being like, Katt Williams is a liar. So, I mean, I'm not going to say everything he says is true. How would I know? But I mean, the guy's got a pretty good track record of just being like, here's what I saw, here's what really happened. And people that respond are like, they just sound like they're not telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help them God. But it was nice to see him bring up Bernie Mac, because obviously gone way too soon. And there is I don't know if it's what the Bernie Mac, let me look this up real quick, but there was something that it was so, let me write this in, Bernie Mac. So there is this Bernie Mac, I ain't scared of you, motherfuckers. So I believe it's deaf comedy, and they're all performing. I think the audience was kind of shitty. And then Bernie Mac came out there and he basically stepped to the front of the stage. And when I first started comedy, someone said, you got to watch the Bernie Mac, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers, because it is sort of like, if you're a comedian and you're on stage, you got to own that stage. I was told from when I first started, like, step forward, own the stage, don't back up. If you're feeling nervous, if you back up, if you kind of look down, I mean, it depends on, your, whatever your thing is up there, if that's kind of your shtick. But you gotta own it. You gotta tell them who's boss, sort of. You know what I mean? Because people are not going to respect someone who's like, I don't. They're gonna be like, I'm not listening. But Bernie Mac comes out there and he just keeps stepping forward, and he puts like this audience, and they're loving it. He just gets their attention, and he's just like, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. Like, I ain't scared. He woke the crowd up. It is a moment that not a lot of comedians, I don't think a lot of comedians, I think a lot of comedians would be afraid to do that. But being in a situation where the crowd's not necessarily on the show as a whole side, but you still got to go out there and be entertaining. And Bernie Mac was like, no, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that and get out there and, own that stage and his presence and it was just like, it was a really beautiful moment. So whenever I'm feeling low or kind of in a funk about comedy, or if I ever had a bad show, I would go home. Well, I'd be like, well, Joleen, which joke sucked and what did you do to have a bad show? But then I'd also watch I Ain't Scared of You Motherfuckers. So, and he just went on stage and he kept saying it. And the audience went nuts. They went crazy. They were like, hell yeah. Because that's what'll happen if you actually, you're there, you're present, you take charge of the stage and your space, and you do the damn thing and you interact. The best thing probably to do in that situation is to interact, recognize what's happening in that situation, and put your own spins on it. B Bean says 31 million views, the Katt Williams video. I mean, it's huge. I'm sure it's gonna set YouTube records if it hasn't already. Okay. Let me get to this shorter form of the club. Shay. Let's see here. Let's find it. And then I'll share my screen and we'll just react to a couple of the things. Okay. Maybe we'll just do this here. Okay. We talked about Cedric the Entertainer. Now he was talking about Ricky Smiley, and I had to remind myself, who the hell is Ricky Smiley? And that's no offense, all offense. Remember, all the things I say are true except for the parts that are false. Everything's for entertainment purposes only and alleged. But I was like, oh yeah, is that the one that has a radio network that Portia and DeBrad is on? Like, that's all. I didn't Ricky Smiley. And then I watched a video of him reacting, and the allegations against him, he brought on like his manager at the time, because Ricky Smiley was claiming that the role that Katt Williams played in Friday After Next, that in fact that role was supposed to be his. And Katt Williams was like, no, 201 people auditioned. They chose me. I did the role. You were the Santa. And I wrote a lot of lines for the show, for the movie. I helped create the wardrobe for it. I put my heart and soul into this. And Katt Williams says that Ricky Smiley, or whatever his name is, so no offense, all offense. Sorry, sir. I can't remember. That he, or Portia Williams' friend, I was watching a YouTuber, and this YouTuber was looking up pictures of these dudes' wives, because Katt Williams also said that a lot of them are giving into the Illuminati, gave them weird faced wives. So I was like, what is a weird faced wife? I like the alliteration on it, a weird faced wife. So I was looking it up, and a YouTuber I was watching, he pulled up a picture of Portia from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, Girls Trip, or not Girls Trip, Ultimate Girls Trip on Peacock. And he was like, I think this is Ricky Smiley's wife. And I was like, that is in fact not Ricky Smiley's wife. Portia Williams. She's married to a whole other guy that was one of her friends, co-stars on Roa's ex-husbands, but he definitely pulled that up for Ricky Smiley's wife. So Ricky Smiley then had his manager come up on his radio show and says, do you remember this time? And the manager's like, well, it's been 20 years. I mean, that's the power of Katt Williams. He's getting us to care and talk about news that happened 20 years ago. And he said, I was called. Ice Cube saw me. I was a host of I think it was a BET comedy show. And Ice Cube started putting me in movies. It helped my career. And for Friday After Next, he said, you're going to, have this part. And then he said he auditioned, and it's like, okay, so you auditioned for it? And his manager said, yeah, we got sent over the sides. Yeah, you get sent sides for auditions. That's what you get sent. If there are lines, if you are going to be playing a part, they'll send you the sides. And then you have those sides and you're able to prepare for the audition. So it just sounded like he auditioned for it. It didn't sound like he had it. But at one point, he then said, oh, and it was supposed to go to me. Now I could see maybe Ice Cube saying, oh, hey, I think you'd be great for this part. And then after auditioning people, he's like, no, you're not. You're in fact, better for this, which is what seemingly happened even according to Ice Cube. But according to Ricky Smiley, he was like, they gave me the part. And Katt Williams was like, he said he film it for 4 days and all this stuff. And that's not really how it works. If you look at a show, one of my favorite shows, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they first called in Buffy, Sarah Michelle Gellar, to audition as Cordelia, which is such a great part on the show, but ultimately went to Charisma Carpenter, and she's like the mean girl. And they saw Buffy, and they saw Sarah Michelle Gellar, and they were like, oh, you're Buffy. So there could have been a conversation that was like, hey, I think you'd be great for this role, but no, instead I found someone else, but you have this other role. But I doubt anything was promised or filmed or anything. And that's kind of what Katt Williams is saying, like, get off my ride. I did this. I made this shit so good. And then now you're going to come 20 years later and keep telling this story that it was supposed to be your role. And according to Katt Williams, Ricky Smiley was around the freaking movie set talking about how that was supposed to be his role. And that's what he did during the filming of Friday After Next. So, sounds like, why are you still talking about it? So ultimately, Katt Williams gets the role of Money Mike, and he makes it his own. And he had a lot of say in the role. And even Ice Cube, he went live, and he recently, everyone is reacting to this damn thing. And he said that, most of what Katt said was exactly true. And he loves all of the comedians that he has put in movies. And the reason he put them in movies, even being Ricky Smiley, is that he thought they were funny and he liked them. But Ice Cube made an excellent point. Like, he appreciated that Katt Williams also stuck up for him, or kind of had his back when it came to the pay. Because I guess some of the people in Friday After Next were like, the pay wasn't good. And I don't know if Ricky Smiley was one of those people, but Ice Cube said, these were all funded by me, written by me, produced by me. And in a different point during his career, and Katt Williams said, the pay was fine. And people should be grateful that they were in these movies of Ice Cube's. And Ice Cube said, you know what, no one's ever put me in a movie. So I put all these people in movies, and no one ever puts me in there. So maybe they could put me in one of theirs. But that goes back to Katt Williams' point, was that I don't think these dudes are writing like that. They're not writers. There are certain comedians that are writers. If you look at someone like Robin Williams, he was amazing and a performer and just so talented, but he himself was not a writer. He bought jokes. He got, he had people write for him down the road, but he was never he was more of a performer. And I think there are a lot of people there's some comedians who they're just like strictly good writers. You see them, their performance is okay, but their writing is so good. And then there's a rare few that actually have the performance and the writing, the stage presence, the whole package. So it seems like these guys they're not writing a lot of movies or a lot of scripts, because they don't seem to enjoy the writing part of it, which isn't always the most fun part. Care Bear says Ricky Smiley said he had the part and that Katt was supposed to be the Santa. The truth is Ricky auditioned, but Katt was the role. Yeah. It just seems like a lot of revisionist history going on. And Katt Williams was like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to let liars lie. So he's basically calling out all of these people, these Hollywood, for lack of a better word, Hollywood elites, and saying, I'm not going to let them lie.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen. And I hate to seem like a petty individual for picking apart lies, but Jussie Smollett gonna keep lying until you say we don't believe you. Like, it's important in the checks and balances of the universe that liars not get to make complete narratives for themselves.
Not Jussie Smollett, not Juicy Smollett. But I think this interview is so interesting with Katt Williams because it is so much him metaphorically speaking on a lot of things, and how the truth exists in society and in media.
I love you.
Oh my God, my husband every time. Oh my God, he does it. Every live, he comes in and he scares the shit out of me with an "I love you." And I don't know why it scares me. Well, it's because it's from behind. Who wants to be surprised from behind? Nobody, okay? In more ways than one. Nobody. But I think the interview and the conversation is so interesting because it's a layered thing where he is a comedian. So not everything he's saying, I don't think, is meant to be exactly as some of it is kind of jokes. And also, how much can Katt Williams say? My husband and I were talking about this, the one who just scared the shit out of me. How much can Katt Williams say and kind of prove, like, look, you can just go on these podcasts, which people do. You can go on this internet, the World Wide Web, and say whatever. There's no fact checking, checks and balances. Very rarely. You can be a whole political ass party and do this. You can be both parties and do it. You say things and you're like, wait a minute. It's almost like facts or what actually happened doesn't mean shit anymore, because people just all of us have a little revisionist history. It's kind of how we process our past, and some of us put more of a rosy glow on it, and some people like to sad fish and doom and gloom and want people to feel bad for them or want to have a better narrative about themselves or a pity party, so they change it. So I think there's truth to that, but it's also it's interesting if you think of the levels at which he's talking, he's doing this. Obviously he does have a special coming out. He is filming his next Netflix. He's got a tour in May. So he's not dumb. He knows that this is, when he does these things, since he does them so rarely, it's going to trend. I mean, we got to call back all the way to what was her name? Wanda Smith. I don't even know who this lady is, but I remember this video when Katt Williams was going on a radio show of hers, I believe in Atlanta. And she, I should watch that video again. And she had talked to him before. And she said, hey, we're just going to talk about, promoting Atlanta, whatever, nothing personal. And then she kind of flipped the script on him. And there was, you could tell there was tension between them. And then he ended up just like ending her, which resulted in, allegedly, her husband pulling up on him with a whole GUN. And for some, YouTube again, we can't say the word because they'll demonetize, which I'm sure they've already demonetized. So I'll have to go have a review because YouTube is like, you can only say essay and DV and stuff. So, okay, so here, let me look this up again. So he basically roasts her as comedians. I mean, that's kind of what we should be decent at. And she was not good at it. She was talking about his hair, and he said she had gnarled fingers, I remember. And he's like, you can't talk about my hair when you're, dressed at the, I think he said her jewelry she got at it was like $15 and she got it at the grocery store. I don't know where he said she got this, but he was just, and you can go to the Atlanta theater and you can see her. The show starts at 9. Wendy Smith comes on at 9:17. I mean, he was just like dropping bombs on her, and she was just talking about him being arrested and going to jail. I think she said prison, and he's like, there's a difference between jail and prison. And just because you're arrested of something, if you have, whether it depends whether you're convicted or anything, which is a whole nother area within Katt Williams and in his history, and him, saying he's been targeted for not playing into what he believes to be this kind of group think and the cabal of it all. Oh, was it Quick Trip? Let's watch it real quick because it was so good. And this poor woman. Oh no, this guy's reacting to it. Is he reacting to it, or do they just have the video? Okay, let's watch it real quick. Okay, that time Katt Williams roasted Wanda Smith on her own show. Oh, that's a little TikTok. TikTok's weird about that. Let's do this one maybe. Oops, no, everybody. Oh, we are revisiting. Okay, maybe help. Shout out to this guy who reposted it. His name is Fawcett Media. All right, let's just play it because what happened to Wanda? Did she go to jail? Did something what happened to her husband? Because allegedly he rolled up on him with let me just Google that real quick because I don't want to be out here going, he did this, and Katt Williams, and we'll do the GUN of it all. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Oh, we'll watch that afterwards. Okay, so there's a little news clip. Oh, this is reminding me so much. Shout out to this gentleman, the what did I say? Fawcett Media here. And he is showing this clip of them. So Wendy's got the morning show, and there's another, I don't know who that guy is, who that comedian is.
If they hear me on stage, and it messes with them.
I'm a cusser.
What about you, Kat? Your kids when they were little?
Oh no, I didn't cuss around them. They never seen me. They still like. I got 3 daughters that still have not seen me smoke a cigarette or anything.
Have they seen your stand-up? Like some people bring their kids to the show. Have they ever been to your show?
Oh yeah. I'm a single father, so
I know.
I'm saying my children have always been in the business, and actually the only thing I've actually been proud of publicly, because I have 19 felonies, so I couldn't be that proud publicly. But the only thing I'm publicly proud of is that there aren't any pictures of my children available on the internet in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
All right.
So to be able to protect a squad of Black children's privacy for 19
years has been a blessing.
That's dope.
You cook? Do you cook for your kids?
Absolutely.
Tell me some of the things you cook that they are proud of. Like, Dad made some. You got.
You can just tell when it's so crazy because when comedians become like radio hosts, like I get it, but you get so corny. You get so corny and I'm someone who can be corny and cheesy, and sometimes I choose to be corny and cheesy. But you can just tell her versus him. It's just like she's so. Tell me something that you cook. Like she's just so overly morning radio animated, and it's kind of vomit inducing when you think about it. And I worked in radio for a little bit, and it is that, hey, and then these people get off air and they are more depressed than comedians. They barely got any sleep. They had to get up at 3 a.m. They're hauling ass. The weather's bad. You know, they're like, did I get my bonus check? Did I get that, sponsorship deal over there? They're not happy people. Their breath stinks. They're not happy. I worked with some of them. Some of the morning show hosts, they're the most depressed people. You're like, are you going to be back tomorrow? Are you sure? They are just very, very, very depressed, just on the edge. And she gives me that. Gives me that because she's like, tell me something you cook. And then she's just very like cheesy. And he's like, I'm just having a discussion here. So, okay, let's talk about like,
You got the best.
who wants to know what Katt Williams cooks for his kids? Nobody. No one freaking. You have Katt Williams on your morning show. You can talk. I mean, I think she said she wasn't even going to bring up like his kids because clearly he has made it very clear that he's proud of the fact that his kids have remained, outside of the public spotlight. So why would he want to be talking about it on a morning show? All right. And now I remember the lip gloss comment. Talks about her lip gloss. Oh, this poor woman. I feel bad. This is about to come in.
Spaghetti. You got the best steak. What do you have?
She's coming in a little hot. On hindsight, she would have realized
We got this guy's commentary. I forgot. I was like, oh, who's this guy with the nice voice? Okay.
Limited food budget. You can make whatever is necessary.
I said what they like.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. I said, what do they like?
Just because you're a poor interviewer doesn't mean.
I said you answer the question and just tell me.
She already is so bothered. She's like, just answer the question. What do you make? And he said he has an unlimited budget. He can make his kids whatever. And Mims, yes. Mims in the chat. Yeah, Kat's face. Oh God, looking at her.
Strong black woman. Is it okay for me to answer?
Come on.
You keep interrupting the answer. Everyone can hear it.
Everyone can hear
It
it.
sounds like you like me a little bit. It's starting to bleed over the airwaves.
It is.
Oh, really?
And it's like, okay, she's laughing. Okay, let's just keep that going. Move along.
Let everybody know that Wanda got some lipstick on right now with enough glitter for the 4th of July.
That's right. Kissable lips.
So, okay, so what do you cook, Katt?
All right, so the thing is, with 7, you become a good cook just because you got too many different opinions. Like 4 of these is daughters, so I got a daughter that only eats vegetables, and then I got a daughter that only eat meat, and I got a daughter that doesn't do dairy.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're cooking. You're cooking for whoever is 4 out of 5, right?
Yeah.
And then you're making the adjustments from there. So you might make lasagna, but you understand that only 4 or 5 people out of 8 are going lasagna. So then you have to do a vegetarian lasagna just so that you can cut the difference. And then because these are Negro children, you make chicken wings and make 1 dozen of those. So you got a regular lasagna, a vegetarian lasagna, and 12 wings. And then you fill it out with salad and bread. And then adult here gets that glass of Port Reserve from Chateau Alon.
Chateau Alon.
Children get that sweet tea from Publix. And there's a meal with a budget of about $64 that'll feed 7 people.
All right.
Wow,
All right.
I love it.
The hood education.
Like, what a dumb question, but then it ultimately ended up being like interesting and with a price and a store shout out. But okay.
Oh yeah, so Katt, Frank.
All right, Red Grant.
How many kids you got, one?
I have 3 boys.
So now he's going to turn the question on her.
Excellent.
Yes, I do.
Aren't boys simple? Aren't boys simple?
She goes, like she's mad.
They can be.
It's so.
They can be.
Wanda knows
I'm what?
she didn't do as much cooking in the latter years as
Relaxed and but still dangerous. You know what I mean? At every moment.
Can be.
Wanda knows
I'm what?
She didn't do as much cooking in the latter years as she did in the beginning.
Oh, whatever. I cook. I do it all.
I didn't say that she
Well,
didn't.
that's all right. I did it in the beginning and the middle and the end.
Oh my God. It's like too much. Who cares? I'd be like, I didn't. I suck at cooking.
What's your favorite thing to cook? Your boy said.
They like for me to. I do a really nice broccoli. They like.
I remember this now.
They love my chicken.
Hey,
Not the broccoli.
right now, look up your phone and see what it takes to make broccoli. And tell me he doesn't say heat up water.
Oh no.
Only step in broccoli, heat
Simmer.
up water.
Whatever.
Have you ever heard of burned broccoli? Can you
Whatever,
burn
hater.
broccoli? You can't burn it because it's made in a pot of water.
You don't know nothing about.
You know what her second meal they love from it? What I do with corn.
That you should just laugh with. You said broccoli. He asked, what meal do you make? The other comedian said, what meal do you make for your kids? Like, what's your go-to meal? What's your favorite thing that you make that your kid's favorite thing that you make? And she said broccoli. First of all, no kids love broccoli like that. Second of all, that's not a meal. That's broccoli. That's open the bag, pour it in. Like, you can roast that shit. You can boil that shit. You can microwave that shit. You can eat it raw. That's broccoli. So you should laugh. You'd be like, oh, that's pretty stupid. But there's the thing. The ego is a terrible thing. And she feels like she was slighted. So now she's mad.
Corn. I like to deal it out that can and I put it in there. And then I get a can of water and I put it on there. And then I get some Zatarans. They don't expect that. I sprinkle
I'm a
Zatarans on my
great
corn.
cook. Whatever.
Yes, ma'am. You good at heating stuff up.
She says, whatever, hater.
You're good at telling us about what's going on in jail.
Oh, gosh. All he's talking about is how dumb of an answer broccoli is of what is your kid's favorite meal you make. And then you're going to bring up that he was in jail.
This is where she messed up. You could see the neck move. You know, there's no coming back. That.
Right, true.
Tomorrow, be there.
All right.
To tell you. But I'm going to tell you at an arena named Phillips, and you're going to tell me at the Atlanta Comedy Theater.
Right, true.
So he's basically like, you're performing at a comedy theater and I'm performing at an arena. It's just, girl, you have to, like, people in general, you gotta, if they got you, they got you. And he's got the better of you in this one.
Tomorrow, be there.
All right.
Red Grant show. I know I'll be there. Don't miss it.
Red Grant, Katt Williams.
Yeah. And see, he was there to promote Red Grant show. You know what I mean? Like, you come there to do your homie Red
I
Grant.
like this Fawcett Media guy. His voice is so nice.
Your brother's show. And half
Frank Ski puts it down.
Don't out here with your crazy ass.
Is he crazy?
And hurry up and get to the salon. All right, it's the people station viewer.
So she says, hurry up and get to the salon about his hair.
Your hair is kind of.
And no one laughs because it's like, first of all, he's wearing a hat. Second of all, like, what does that have to do with that?
My hair is 19 inches long and I have no perm.
You don't.
Oops.
Oh, that's not a perm.
No, it is not.
Just
Nice.
take your L.
Come run one of your gnarled fingers.
Oh, not gnarled. No.
While you on air. They can hear you live.
Come on. Let me come over here.
No. That's not how that works.
Oh, okay. Well, then stay over there.
Don't
Oh
worry,
my
ain't nobody
gosh.
putting their hands
Her
through yours.
face,
That's
like,
right. They don't have to.
flushed. You can tell she's getting upset, nervous, just all the things.
I want them to. Get on out of here. You okay?
People always do that too. They start shit or they get in something they can't handle and then they go, are you okay? I'm fine. Are you okay? Like, I'm not the one that you should be wondering if I'm okay. You're the one that's losing here and continues to just lose, but not recognize that you're losing. Are you okay? But people will do that. They will do that.
Only one of our hands moving while we talk.
Are you all right this morning? Are you okay?
Red Grant, Atlanta Comedy.
Tell Wanda to take off them headphones and
and
that
make
wig.
Wanda.
And make sure.
That wig and that headphones
And
come
take off
together.
some old ass clothes you got on. How about that? Yeah, they're old.
Versace, yeah.
It doesn't.
She's got a peasant top. She's got like she's got the Kohl's work Casual Friday collection, and he's like, I'm pretty sure this is Versace.
Matter. It doesn't matter. It
She
says
said,
Versace.
I want to apologize to the people at Versace Collection.
Oh,
It's their
God.
2019 summer line that hasn't come out.
It is so
Open it up
bad.
and show us
But
it was
it-
Versace. I wanted to.
No, I didn't
walk
have to
past
open
but
it
you
up.
did,
These
though.
people are on radio. They can't see anything.
Yeah, but you opened it up so we could see it.
Yes,
We see
ma'am.
it. Well, happy.
And happy
for
whatever
you.
store is for the Black Lane Bryant.
Not the Black Lane Bryant. I mean, oh no.
That's right. Very proud.
Okay, let's
Very
That's right. Very proud. It doesn't seem like you're very proud, Wanda. And Avalon saying she lost her job due to this interview. I mean,
proud.
this was very
We're
unprofessional.
going to do a break real quick.
Very
All right, cool. We're
proud.
going to do a break.
Shout out to Forever 21.
Yeah.
Shout out to Forever 21.
That's right. Shout out.
They don't remember me for wilding out, right? I'm not the right one to joke about. If you can't get your blood pressure down, you can't call me down.
Oh no, if you can't get your blood pressure down, you can't call me.
If your cholesterol is 600,
Whatever, little mama.
I'm little mama.
Called her little mama. Like, my lip gloss is cool. My lip gloss is popping. Oh,
Was
no.
baby daddy.
No, you little mama.
Yes, ma'am. And what are you,
I
girl?
love little mama.
Girl?
I don't know what she's doing now. Shout out to little mama.
You probably shouldn't talk about sizes.
No, that's
You
okay.
big on the radio.
That's right. And you're big.
You big on the rate. Oh, no.
Turn it down.
And you're
Yes,
big in
ma'am.
prison.
I've never been to prison.
You have
19
several
felonies, no
times.
convictions.
Yeah.
Not
See, she takes it so far and so personal, where it could be a fun roast back and forth, broccoli, your hair, all of that stuff, I guess, on the table. But to take it to the prison, it didn't get, it's not prison worthy yet. It's not prison worthy.
prison and jail aren't the same. No.
Okay,
No.
okay.
No.
Calm
No.
down, calm down,
Only one of us.
Calm down. This is like what that Karen lady did. Remember, she was like, calm down. My kids are watching Kids Bop. Now she's doing the calm down. So they do that reflection, like, are you okay? Calm down. No, you're the only one that is escalating this shit with your prison comments, and the fact that you can't take a joke about your dumbass broccoli answer, and the fact that, you ripped on his clothing, it's Versace, and you're over there with apartment 9. So that's a good joke.
Of us has $12 worth of jewelry on. No.
No, $12.
That all is available. If you want to have Wanda's jewelry, please go to Sitgo or Quick Trip at any point. If you buy 2 packs of Newport 100s,
no.
they will give you everything Wanda has on right now for $7.99, and it comes with a free car wash. Won't you come on down?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
The show starts at
Poor Wanda. I bet you she wishes that she could go back, not do this.
9. Wanda gets to the stage at 9:17.
Don't Shay, please don't get Miss Cat and do her
She's
hair.
almost out of breath. Be careful now. Even
Oh, not out of breath.
on the radio, you can hear the fact that exercise has crept into her vocabulary.
Yeah. Hey, little mama, we're done.
You already used that one. Don't repeat your jokes first.
Go ahead. Just go
Get your ass out of here.
It's like how to roast and how not to roast. Oof.
There it is.
That was painful. And shout out to this lovely gentleman, Fawcett Media. Thank you for letting us listen to that little clip. I forgot how good that was. Okay, so then Katt Williams, Wanda Smith argument outside the club caught on video. So then they show up at, oh my God, Katt Williams, this is 5 years ago. Katt Williams, the video is, Katt Williams told police that Wanda Smith's husband, Lamorris Sellers, pulled a GUN on him and pointed it in his face outside the Atlanta Comedy Theater. I think he was there to support his friend, Red, the other guy in that interview. And they showed up after the fact. Are you kidding me? So let's take it. I never saw this. I remember all of this trending. I remember watching the interview, thinking it was like hilarious. And then I didn't know it got this deep until he was talking about it in this interview that they like literally pulled the GUN on him. Oh my goodness.
Drama, a back and forth between comedian actor Katt Williams and Atlanta radio host Wanda Smith ends up in the streets.
You can see Wanda Smith and her husband by the front door of the Atlanta Comedy Club in Norcross. Katt Williams then walks up on the left. They say something to each other, and then Williams runs away. He claims Wanda's husband put a gun in his face, but this video only shows him raising his shirt. Smith admitted to police he had a gun, but he said it was in his waistband.
That is a interesting man. What was he wearing? What is that guy doing?
You can see Wanda Smith and her husband by the front door of the Atlanta Comedy Club in Norcross. Katt Williams then walks up on the left. They say something to each other, and then Williams runs away. He claims Wanda's husband put a gun in his face, but this video only shows him raising his shirt. Smith admitted to police he had a gun, but he said
Yeah,
it was in his
Princess,
waistband.
probably.
No one was hurt, and Williams declined to press charges.
Oh my goodness. Oh, yes. House of Princess says that's probably the real reason why she got fired. I mean, yeah, if they had a video of that, talk about taking it way too far. That's crazy. Well, I think, I doubt they could probably offer Katt Williams a paycheck that he would agree to for Comedy Central, first of all. And what you saw with a lot of those Comedy Central roasts they were mostly up and coming comedians. You'd see early Amy Schumer, early Nikki Glaser, early Greg Giraldo, before people knew who, whatever his name was, Jeff I forget his name off right now, but a lot of those comics that did the roast, they were very early in their career, and it was like a come up thing where they were roasting a big celebrity, which then down the road, I think they roasted comedians. And now, you know, the most recent version of the show was comedians roasting each other. But the, the big Comedy Central roast back in the day, they were all these up and coming. I mean, that's how Greg Giraldo made a name for himself. Rest in peace, Greg Giraldo. Hilarious, very talented, is through these roasts. People are like, who the hell is Jeff Ross? Yes, I don't know how I forgot Jeff Ross's name, but and then he took that and went, and then they had a show on Comedy Central for a little bit, a roast battle. I don't know if it's still on there, but they had it at the Comedy Store for a while, and then they took it and I think they sold it to Comedy Central for comics roasting each other. But I think Katt Williams was at that time probably already in a place where he was too big for that, maybe, and he was doing movies and stuff, so he probably wasn't interested. But yeah, so that, oh my goodness. But it was interesting to see his participation in Wild and Out and him talk about that, because I never paid attention to that as well. Okay, so let's listen to him talk about Cedric the Entertainer. We'll just listen to a couple of the things and react. But again, the full video you can watch on Club Shay Shay if you haven't already. This is just smaller clips.
Cedric did the same thing. Cedric told you when you asked him, did you steal Katt Williams' joke? Yeah. He said, it don't line up. How it don't line up that I did it on TV in 2018? You came to see me at the Comedy Store do it in 2019 and then did it on the Kings of Comedy. Like, what doesn't line up? This is a televised joke.
So then later, someone, one of the guys on the side, maybe someone with him or the podcast says, did you mean 1998 he did it on BET, and then Cedric in 2000 for the Kings of Comedy performed it and allegedly stole this joke?
That Mark Curry helped me punch up and get to the level that it was. The same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he wear a suit and then he gets this high top fade, making all black men think he got the best lineup in the business. And it's a man unit. Then you ask it.
I had no idea that was a wig, allegedly, that Steve Harvey. I mean, it makes sense now, but he said a man unit.
Why you not a movie star? I didn't want to be a movie star. This the same Negro that hated on Bernie with this same thing. I didn't want to be a movie star. No, you couldn't be a movie star. There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good, baby, and look like Mr. Potato Head. There ain't none. You would have to have range. I played a lot of characters, 60 movie roles. I'm not playing Katt Williams in there.
I don't know, Katt. We might not let you drink anymore the way you. I mean, we ain't even got.
I'm not fueled by alcohol. I've had a sip, less than you.
Well, I think that is, even making those like little jokes, like Shannon obviously means no harm by that. It's, I'm not going to let you have any more of this drink. But with Katt Williams, it's something that they have pushed on him for years, that he's an addict, he's a drug addict, and that he's crazy, which they tend to do. I mean, to people who question the system or go against the norm, or people who consider themselves truth tellers, or, take you outside of the matrix. And Dave Chappelle talked about this when he was talking about Martin Lawrence. And I always have this clip because it's so telling of how Hollywood really isn't the healthiest place. I think everyone can agree now, and all the things that have come out. But I mean, anything that has a lot of money and a lot of power and a lot of vested interest in that way is going to have a lot of toxic features to it. So Dave Chappelle talked about this with Martin Lawrence, and just like all these celebrities, these big names who then all of a sudden they're like, they went crazy. And the media immediately, there's almost like a campaign, it seems, to make these people out to be crazy or to be drug addicts, because as Dave Chappelle said, it is it's the one way to like disvalue someone, to really tear someone down and take away their voice, is to call them crazy. But Dave Chappelle says it a little better. So we'll play that clip.
I was like, oh my God, Martin, are you okay? And he said, I got the best sleep I ever got in my life. That's how tough he is. So let me ask you this. What is happening in Hollywood that a guy that tough will be on the street waving a gun, screaming, they are trying to kill me?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why is Dave Chappelle going to Africa? Why does Mariah Carey make a $100 million deal and take clothes off on TRL? A weak person cannot get to sit here and talk to you. Ain't no weak people talking to you. So what is happening in Hollywood? Nobody knows. The worst thing to call somebody is crazy is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick.
I mean, and now Dave Chappelle has been, he was the, he had that happen to him as well. When he didn't want to take the deal and go forward with the Chappelle show, it was like, oh, Dave's crazy. He went off to Africa. And, I think Dave Chappelle came to a moment in his career, according to him, where he was like, I have this like this power in comedy now. I have this voice. A lot of people are listening to me. And people, when people actually don't just completely sell out, you tend to think about your own integrity and the legacy you want to leave behind. And whether is your comedy or is your art form, your presence in this, is it hurting or helping, or is, and I think that's the dilemma he had, whether, these jokes and these sketches and things he was doing. There was a moment I think he describes, and again, I'm paraphrasing this from memories of interviews of him, where he was like, oh, they're not kind of laughing with, they're laughing at, and are like the sketches that he's doing, is it actually perpetuating more, hatred or racism or prejudice or whatever he had referenced when, or is, I think he just came to like a moral almost dilemma. And is this what he wanted to do? If I remember correctly. And so, and Dave Chappelle has talked a lot about not wanting to live in Hollywood. And that's why he lives out in like Ohio or wherever he lives and has like a farm. And I think he was doing shows out there during the Panakuchen, and doesn't want his family to live out in Los Angeles and in Hollywood, and how kind of toxic the environment is. But they definitely tried to paint him as crazy as well. And we've seen this happen, but he makes a great point, which is true in any profession and true in the world, is calling someone, labeling them in that way as whether, and falsely labeling them as like crazy or an addict or just those kind of labels. They carry such weight where they are totally dismissive. It's like, oh, you can't trust Katt Williams. He doesn't show up to work. He's a drug addict. He's probably on meth. He's doing this. He's doing that. Where Katt Williams says during this interview, you'd think if I was doing all these drugs, they say, someone would have video of me doing the drugs. Someone would say I sold drugs to Katt Williams. Someone would have something, but they don't. They just say it. And it's this propaganda that like sticks on people. And it's very dangerous and very detrimental to, their reputation. So that's something that has followed Katt, unfortunately, for the people trying to put these labels on him. And, Dave Chappelle, whether you like him or not, I know Dave has been criticized for, transphobia and different things, especially within LA. You have to agree that they were able to create this brand and this audience for themselves that is very loyal and will follow them. So it doesn't matter. You can keep putting these labels on them and they're going to keep making money, and their audience they're uncancelable. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think cancel culture is really a thing. Do people try to get people canceled? Sure. But there really is no canceling. You'll always find your audience. You'll always find your way to make money and hustle. There's very few people or entertainers that I can think of who are actually canceled. If you think of Louis C.K., he came right back and he won a Grammy. You think of Roseanne, she's out there doing work, touring, making money. There's really not people. I mean, I'm sure there's people maybe who then went to jail and it might be over for them, but they could get out. They could write a book if they do get out. I mean, it's really difficult. I think we just want to go cancel culture, but I think there is a consequence culture. I mean, if you're going to say something or you're going to do certain stuff, there are going to be consequences, and especially if your name is tied to a brand or a product and they don't like what you say, which essentially is why Katt Williams feels so free to say what he wants, is his brand, his name, he owns all that. according to him. So he doesn't have to answer to these powers that be. But most people within the industry have to answer to something like that. And so maybe giving their unfiltered opinions about something is going to get them quote unquote canceled to the point where a show like Roseanne's show doesn't want to be associated with her anymore. Is that necessarily wrong? Not necessarily. I mean, it's a business, and you do have to be there. There is consequences to it. It sucks that you could create something for so long and then have it kind of all taken away from you, and not, be affiliated or have them not want to be affiliated with you anymore. But there are consequences. Anyone in any profession, if you're out there, saying certain things, unfortunately, there's these powers that be. We can't just openly say anything we want to. That's not how it works. That's how you see a lot of these Karens who people find out their jobs. And they're like, oh, so you want to be a racist? Okay, well, here, she works at whatever realty. And then they hit them up and you see the tweets come out and they go, we are no longer affiliated with that. But it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have been at the park telling people of color that they can't be there. So there are consequences. But do I think sometimes that it is abused where people want to shut people up? Of course that happens. But I don't think it is, as like, oh my God, there's, like a certain group of people that are like, oh, everyone's just trying to cancel everybody. And I don't necessarily think that's true. I mean, look at Kanye. Kanye has not been canceled. He'll still continue to make money unless he blows it himself. I mean, that man is wearing leotards and his wife wore a pillow and he is in Europe. And people will still listen to his music and stuff. So, I mean, but there'll be consequences. Adidas might pull away from you and, deals that you might make because they don't want to be affiliated with that take that you have or that opinion. Hey, Nana's in the chat. Hi, Joe. Just finished my knee exercises. Dad is a taskmaster. Sounds more fun than what it is. Shout out to Nana. She had her knee replacement and she's doing awesome. And she's killing it. She is killing it. I'll bring you some candy. I know Panakuchen. They were delicious restaurants. Educated Opinion said they're currently doing the exact same thing to Kanye, but Kanye almost doing it. I mean, yeah, Kanye just says stuff and you're like, huh? But Katt Williams talks about the Kanye situation, and he makes a really interesting comparison of like, or a point, he says, of what do you expect from Kanye? I mean, you guys built him up and we're like, oh, you write songs and you call yourself Yeezus, and yeah, you're just, you saw that kind of growing, and yet you were all like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. And then you want him to have great takes on, you want him to be some like great historical reference. Now he writes songs, he makes beats, like stay in your lane. But all of a sudden you have these like delusions of grandeur, if you will, with Kanye, where I think in a lot of ways, he does believe his own hype, but also I think it's a toxic environment that he's in. I don't know. I don't have an excuse or an explanation for what Kanye is doing, but also like, what did we really expect? And I think Katt says something about him making the point of, you don't go to like a football or something or go, why didn't that basketball player make any hockey goals? It's like, well, that's not his lane. It feels like, Kanye's been out of his lane for a while and just speaking on stuff and not like, I'm going to run for president and do a school. And you're like, at what part do we take responsibility and go, who would said there are people who sent their kids to the Kanye school? What is wrong with you? This school, they had to wear, I think, all black. They ate sushi for lunch, but I don't think they learned anything. People were going to the Kanye church. It's one thing to like the music. I mean, I'll tell you, Life of Pablo has so many great bangers on it. Still to this day, I'm like, damn it, Kanye. But I'm not going to go to Kanye church, and I'm not going to go to send my kids to Kanye school because I'm not dumb. Like most people shouldn't. It's crazy. Lynn, I forgot how we got on it, but it is referenced in this interview. I think we're talking about cancel culture. That's how we got on the Kanye of it all.
The truth don't need motivation. I'm just saying I can't let these dudes lie. Cedric sitting here telling you why he ain't a movie star. He over here look like a walrus. You didn't say nothing. He can't even get his arms off his stomach sitting over here. Why I'm not a movie star. What?
It's a situation.
He never wrote anything. Remember, when Cedric the Entertainer starts, he's supposed to be singing, dancing, and telling jokes. That's why he's called the Entertainer.
Right.
We found out he can't sing, can't dance, and doesn't write jokes. He did 4 comedy specials. They're so bad, Shannon, they're not available on Netflix or Tubi. Can I say that again for the audience? They're so bad that they're not available on Netflix or Tubi.
Not Netflix or Tubi. Your very own Joleen is on Tubi. Laugh After Dark. That's on Tubi. But me and my husband, me and Chell keep saying to each other, we'll text each other, they're not available on Netflix or Tubi. You're not available on Netflix or Tubi.
You don't think Say's a good comedian?
The world doesn't think that, sir. I have 12 comedy specials. He has 4 specials that are not available on Netflix or Tubi.
It seems to me, Katt, that you had a lot to get off your chest.
No.
You wanted to set the record straight.
Winners are not allowed to allow losers to rewrite history. I don't say any of these things if my name is not breached by these.
That's one of my favorite quotes. Winners are not allowed to let losers rewrite history. And we know losers will rewrite history.
People on your platform. If you give a liar a platform to lie, then I'm not being messy by saying, hold on, that never happened. It's untrue. And there are hundreds of witnesses for each thing I'm saying.
So let me ask you this. What is your relationship with Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley, and Cedric the Entertainer as you sit here currently?
For 30 years, they're a group. These aren't 3 random guys. The way that Ricky Smiley kept appearing at all of my auditions is because of Steven said he would tell anybody that, listen, they got a gang on that side. They know what it is. They know who the gang is. Why Earthquake not in movies? Because he's illiterate. He can't read. And they found that out when they gave him a show and put the cards in front of him. Like, all of these dudes are co-entwined and they share secrets. And this is the age of truth. And the truth doesn't need to be scared of the fact that people tell lies. Katt's on drugs. Where are the stories? Why is there no story of anybody who ever sold a drug to me, did a drug with me, was around me when I was inebriated? I got 5 daughters. I got 5 sons. Why would we tell these ridiculous stories? Because it's competition. You feel like, well, why comedy guys can't just get along?
Yes.
Why didn't you get along with the other teams you were competing against? If you're a Denver Bronco, why you don't get along with the Cowboys? Something wrong with you?
But I don't disagree. I don't dislike all the Cowboys. Katt, damn, you like this?
No, that's
okay,
not.
What comedians do you like?
Did you play against the team?
Yes.
I've taken 46 comedians with me on the road. 46.
Okay.
I'm not the comedian you can give that to. I only put on comedians that are funnier than me. Anybody?
See, I remember the backlash with Katt Williams when also in that interview that we saw with Wanda Smith, where he was talking about Tiffany Haddish and, Girls Trip. And he kind of was like, do you think Tiffany Haddish wrote that part? Now, Girls Trip is an amazing movie. It's so funny. Tiffany Haddish kills it, obviously. But the point he was, I think, making is, there are a lot of women in comedy and people in comedy. If you don't fit that mold they're looking for, they will almost go with the industry plants, if you will, because he says that Kevin Hart is a plant. And I think he's kind of alluding to the fact that maybe Tiffany Haddish, he basically didn't necessarily deserve to be one of the with these greats at the moment, because he talks a lot about people in comedy and stuff not paying their dues and people taking the easy way. And you see that a lot in entertainment and in comedy. And, there is a certain look they're looking for, brand, age. Now, Tiffany Haddish, she has her own story, and she had been doing stand-up for a long time. And she has a really interesting backstory of being like a foster kid, I believe. But he was kind of propping up the like Lunells, like women stand-up comedians who had been in the business and grinding for so long, who really don't get the come up like a lot of maybe these younger, more, not that Lunell's not beautiful, but like more traditionally, or I don't even know what the word, Hollywood standard, beautiful, like why within comedy should be the one art form where it does not matter. You don't have to, you're not trying to be Jennifer Aniston over here and be an you're being actress, but it's like in these comedic roles or in doing the comedic specials and things like that, there shouldn't be a beauty standard, which is something he talks about later when he paid for, someone to be on the Walk of Fame who they left out because she didn't buy in to, and she wasn't what they were looking for, allegedly in Hollywood with like the looks and the, kind of stereotypical what they go for, but they do, with comedy, it's interesting because comedy is something that you get better at it as you get older and as you grind more and as you put the time in. It's almost like you got to get to so many hours. Where if modeling, acting, I think you probably get better as you get older, but it's not. It's something that it's that, they covet the youth. They kind of want the young, and that's very important. And comedy shouldn't be that thing, because it is something that the more experience you have, the more you can bring to the art form, and the better writer you'll be, the better performer, the more shows you do. But you see a lot of really young comedians get, you're like, where did this person come from? And all of a sudden they're, it's like a perspective of a 23-year-old. You see like a Matt Rife or something. And then, then he gets put on Netflix, and no offense, all offense to Matt Rife. But then a lot of people want to, shade his joke writing and things. It's like, well, that's not what I don't think hopefully he himself would say he ain't a good joke writer, because they're not well written. Does he have a good stage presence? Is he, again, it's subjective. Some people could be like, it's great, but he got known from online, and he was on Wild and Out, and then he was doing like his posting his own videos, and he got a lot of followers, and he was posting crowd work stuff, and people thought he was a way in which he wasn't. They were like, oh, this is a cute guy, he looks nice, I like him. And then they saw his comedy, and he was like, no, I don't want the ladies to like me. I want the guys to like me. People are like, oh, okay. And then he, opens a special with he can open a special with whatever he wants. That's the great thing about comedy. You can do what you want. But he opens it with kind of like a hack DV joke, which you can totally do. But it's something that, if you've been alive long enough, you probably know that you've heard this before. It's just hacky. It's something like a dad joke or something. And a lot of people didn't like it because it has to do with DV. And some people will say you can't joke about that. But then there's a fine line, because if you start making a list of things we can't joke about, pretty soon that list gets very long and you can't say anything. So comedy is like that last kind of art form where you don't really want to put too many rules on it. But you can show your dislike, or if you don't enjoy something, how you show that is you don't support it. You don't buy the tickets, you don't go to the show, you don't watch it. And all of that is the way for you to have your voice in it. But do I think he should be like canceled over, or Matt Rife should never get work? No, he can say what he wants. And if you don't like it, then don't watch it. You can definitely have an opinion and say you don't like it, but to be like, he should never do comedy again. Like, if that's the case, then we have a lot of comedians out there who should never do it again, and people, again, it's a subjective art form. So people could watch me and go, oh, that bitch is not funny. And if they're just like, oh, she talked about this and she should never have a voice again, that's pretty dumb. You don't want to put that on the art form, because then we would miss out on a lot of really great voices. But you're going to see a lot of shitbags, but you're going to see a lot of people who kind of look like Matt Rife, around that age, because they love that young, beautiful. So I think ultimately what Katt was calling out is Tiffany Haddish in that come up. I think he was like, she didn't have the hustle that I see these other women that I brought on tour with me. And, Tiffany, again, I don't have anything against Tiffany Haddish. I think she's very talented, but do I think she's like, if you compare her to just, again, I think he had previously brought up Lunel, or, someone who's just been like grinding for, there's no comparison at that. But yeah, so, but to be like a movie star, that's different. They don't necessarily care how long you've been out there, how long you've been grinding. If you got the right look, you read the lines right. And that's basically, Katt Williams is making the point that's a different kind of performer than he is, than a lot of that's not stand-up comedy, So, oh, you're welcome, Yvonne. I got your card too. I just checked my P.O. box and I got a wonderful card from Yvonne. I appreciate it so much, you guys. I love checking my P.O. box and I have things. It's so sweet. And then I also got Realification. Thank you so much. I got some things from Realification that were wonderful and some really thoughtful gifts from Pomegranate. Thank you so much. But I'll talk about that on another Odell says Tiffany Haddish is not funny. Just say it. Listen. I don't know. I can't name one of Tiffany Haddish's jokes. I can't. Not because I just don't. Well, I haven't seen her perform enough. Stand up. But comedic actor wise, Tiffany Haddish is very talented as a comedic actress. She really. I'm never going to take that away from her. She's very talented in that way. I can't offhand name one of her stand-up jokes. I just can't, but I can't for many people. I can barely name my own jokes sometimes. But it is subjective, and there's a big push that's that some people that don't think she's funny. But yeah, like TMCB girl is saying 007, some people get fast tracked. They do, and that's essentially it's good and it's bad, it's harder for these women that Katt has referenced in previous interviews and these women that he's brought along. You see a comedian like Miss Pat, and Miss Pat started to get her flowers, but she has, she's so fucking talented. So you're not going to see with the Hollywood game the way it is, you're not going to see the funniest people out there. You don't even know. We don't know because they're not getting fast tracked. They're not getting, because it's not about that. It's not, it's branding, the look they're going for. There are gatekeepers. There is, for lack of a better term, when he says a cabal or Illuminati, there's groups that control. There are gatekeepers to this shit 100%. Now, I'm not saying, it's like freaking the same as whatever. I don't even know what they think the Illuminati does. Do they eat the kids? No, that's the other people. But there are gatekeepers to this, and there's corporations and there's money, and these gatekeepers, they do not know what's best entertainment wise all the time, and they do not care about the funniest. They have an idea of what they're looking for, and they also, there is a certain bit of, you lose quite a bit of your artistic freedom in that. And I think that's something, and sometimes some of your integrity. Yeah. So let's keep going.
Anybody that ever told you differently was a fat Faison liar. There's nobody like me in the business.
Faison just told us straight.
Faison said that getting a Netflix special is easy. I have 12 specials. Guess how many Faison got? 0. So why is he allowed to have conversations about real stand-up people?
This is one of my favorite parts. Why is he allowed to have a conversation about real stand-up people? I think that so much about so many things.
We do not let people who are on the juice discuss real athletes. That's all. As a journalist, that's all. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I don't harbor any resentment to any of these entities because I can't be jealous. I've never seen them have anything that I ever wanted. If you sign up for their program, you get a light-skinned, weird-faced wife that never do an interview. Listen, in 20 years, won't do an interview.
I feel like I'm a weird-faced wife, but I had never heard this term, a weird-faced wife. And then I started looking up their wives to see if they had weird faces. I didn't think they had weird faces, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing
interview. Nobody's ever talked to her, and that she's never been interviewed anywhere. And now, understand, I'm not talking about one person. What I just told you applies to 7 people. How they all end up with that. That's part of what you get. I came in this business saying I was going to expose. When I talked about Michael Jackson, when I talked about R. Kelly, they canceled me for these things because why would you talk about another black dude? Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side. And we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way. The truth is the lie.
I mean, what do you guys think? I kind of like this. Like, the truth is coming out 2024. Katt Williams, mention it all. Like Bethany Frankel says, tell us everything. It's 2024.
All people that love the truth got to be happy if the truth coming out and lies is getting exposed. That's just what time it is. 2024, folks.
2024, folks. 2024. I mean, things are coming out about so many people. And like the Diddy, oh my gosh, things go. And TD Jakes, like, I don't know a ton about that. I do know our good friend Mims over there. He's killing it with the coverage of all of that. But from the Harvey Weinstein on down, it's just boom, boom, pow. I'm here for it. Like, tell us, sir. Diddy wants to party. According to Katt Williams, Diddy does want to party.
Delight.
I need to have that number with these.
Amen.
Gee. I kind of get on here.
All right.
After that, I don't really kind of know where to go. Let me one more time.
Right.
Sometimes you
We good now?
let it sit. That's what I liked what Shannon did with this interview. He just let stuff sit. He laughed, made some jokes, but he let Katt Williams speak because he was, like B. Bean saying, getting so much gold. Katt Williams was just offering this up. He knows what he's doing. You know, let this man speak.
Because the people want to know, why would he get blackballed?
Yeah,
because in 30 years, I've done nothing but collect information, knowledge, and your secrets. So if you and a man was in a corner doing something you wasn't supposed to be doing,
you will tell it.
No, somebody come to tell me.
Okay.
I gather that. I value that. I'll pay for that. Come, tell me. I know so many things I shouldn't know, and they all know it. They all know it. Why? Because you don't make me the villain. Not the guy that raises black children and ain't never done a hard drug in his life and don't have no stories of doing nobody dirty. And they'll just go out and they'll lie. The industry doesn't mess with Katt because he didn't show up for the studio. No studios have ever said that. Look at my IMDb. It will show you that no studio has ever lost money with me on the script. How? That's why I'm saying, that's why I can't let Ricky Smiley say he was supposed to play Money Mike, because I wrote the words for Money Mike. I designed the hair for Money Mike. I collaborated with the wardrobe department and made outfits to make sure that no one in America would be wearing what Money Mike was wearing. I told him to go get the Prowler. I then told him to paint it purple. I told him don't have an actor at playing a pimp. We could get an actual pimp, Archbishop Magic Don Juan to play. Like, I did far too much work for somebody to come years later and try to tag along just for their own self-aggrandizement.
Why didn't Cube set the record straight? Terry Crews could have set the record straight. Mike Epps could have set the record straight. Why none of?
Well, Ice Cube has come out recently and been like, most of what he said is true. So Ice Cube did confirm that what Katt Williams is saying is in fact true, even though Ricky Smiley, again, went on his morning show, brought his manager in from years ago. And you could tell the manager was even like, I do not want to get involved in this. I don't want Katt Williams coming after me because, you know, he can read us both down and with the truth. And I do not want that. These Hollywood people, they do not want to touch Katt Williams. He knows too much, you know, to them, but just enough for us.
None of them set the record straight.
That's what you were supposed to ask him when he told you those lies that
but
no one's ever heard.
Lie.
Right, but he's telling you something no one's ever heard of. Nobody has ever heard, oh, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon was in a movie, and somebody said, y'all should switch roles. And, like, this is a business.
But that's the thing, Kat. Normally when people will give you information, I'm thinking I'm hearing it for the first time, and they're giving information no one else knows or has ever heard. So I'm taking them at face value.
This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless. When Mark Curry was touring with him 25 years ago, he was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week. They just tell the stories. Can
I just say, like, after this, justice for Mark Curry. I feel like Mark Curry got screwed over. I mean, he had so much success and he was a staple in the 90s when I was growing up. But from this interview, I'm like, justice for Mark Curry. Mark Curry, come back. Mark Curry, do an interview. Tell us all, where did Steve steal? Where did Steve hurt you? Show us.
Thanks to my wife, I'm where I am. You said that about the first wife. You forget that? You told us it was her. Then you went and married somebody else that think like a man. Like, what are you talking about? They think they can rewrite history. Guy Torrey did a beautiful special about the Comedy Store and Fat Tuesday, where he said that Steve and Cedric and Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish came through there and made all lies. Steve and Cedric never performed at the Comedy Store at all. Tiffany was only seen at the Laugh Factory. In 15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood.
I will tell you, Tiffany Haddish was a staple at the Laugh Factory. Just the small amount of time I lived in LA, Tiffany Haddish was she was the laugh at, like she was always at the Laugh Factory. They love her at the Laugh Factory. I have never seen her at the Comedy Store. Not like I'm not a staple at the Comedy Store, but the times that I was there, or at the mic, or waiting to get on the mic, or going to shows, or being on a show, I never saw Tiffany there. But she could have been doing big Hollywood business. But I don't ever remember her being like how LA works is with comedy clubs, and it's a little different now to the Panakuchen, but there's people that are Laugh Factory people, there are Comedy Store people. And when the Comedy Store people, though, they're Comedy Store people. You know who the Comedy Store people are. Now there are people, once you get big enough, you transcend that and you just show up wherever you want and perform wherever you want. But at that time, he would be talking about Tiffany Haddish kind of on the come up. Where she is now, she could show up anywhere and perform anywhere and do anything. That's the level that she's at right now. But he's not wrong that I would associate Tiffany Haddish as a Laugh Factory comedian. She was always there, just like killing it at the Laugh Factory. They loved her at the Laugh Factory. I never saw her at the Comedy Store, but that's just my experience, which I'm nobody, so whatever. But I was like, oh shit, even that little bit of like information, I'm like, he's not wrong there. I've just said that it's the age of Aquarius, and I'm an Aquarius, so I mean, we do like to expose things. We are very brave, and we do have we just think outside the box a little bit.
In Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show, there being a line for him.
He said nobody in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show.
Ever getting a standing ovation at any comedy club. He already had his deals when he got here. Have we heard of a comedian that came to LA and in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading? No, we've never heard of that before that person or since that person. What do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definitions of these words.
I don't even know if I understand the definitions of the words. He's saying Kevin Hart is a plant, like an industry plant. Like I get that to a sense, but I would love Katt Williams to just keep going, tell us more about these industry plants. But he does say, he started his comedy career on the East Coast and he just showed up in LA. But I do have to say there is maybe not on that level, but there are a few people that I've known of who get to LA and things are already set up for them, and it doesn't mean they didn't put the work in beforehand or they didn't start in another comedy scene. Most of us don't start the scene in Los Angeles. You usually start somewhere in the middle and then you end up on a coast, New York or LA, if you want to, make comedy, performing, writing, any kind of entertainment, if you want to make that like your job. If you want to try to make it, you go to New York or you go to LA for comedy. And there's debates over which is better. Some people say a better writers, better performance go through New York, that New York has better stand-up. I would agree. Sometimes, yeah. I mean, LA, yeah. I mean, some people will say if you haven't done New York, you haven't really done comedy. If you didn't live there and grind there, because it's an intense scene and there's so many shows. But it's just interesting. This is all this industry plant stuff. But there are people who then are lined up, whether it be with management. With Kevin Hart, I don't know his backstory, but I do know that you could be in middle America and you could be doing like comedy festivals, if you will. There could be industry there who sees you, and people, before I moved to LA, there were a few people who would be at shows and they had connections to Los Angeles. And I remember one person in particular was in Phoenix, where I started comedy. I was performing at the Hidden House, and there was I don't even know what she was, but she was there to see another friend of ours named Chris Bennett. And for something, she's like scouting kind of areas and stuff, because you'd be surprised how many people look for talent and how many industry go to other cities. Atlanta's a big city for that. Like they have a really big festival in Atlanta. I don't know if it holds the same weight as it did once upon a time, but it's called Laughing Skull. And I lived in LA, but you wanted to get into the Laughing Skull festival, you had to apply because you'd see industry there. The Tonight Show, all the bookers and stuff go there. So unless you have great management and representation and you're in at like CAA or some, or Brillstein or something, those people aren't seeing you perform. So you get in these festivals so that you can showcase for industry, because these festivals pay the industry to come in and watch, and it helps the industry. They're getting paid, whether it be bookers for late night or, management and all that. They're getting paid, and they're getting one place to go to kind of see talent and scout for stuff. So there's a lot of people, for example, Michael Longfellow, who is now on Saturday Night Live. Michael Longfellow, hilarious, talented guy that, the animals are fighting, came out of Phoenix Comedy, where me and my husband started. Okay, Teddy, the cat's not liking it. Oh no, you go sit down, Teddy. She was just like, I'm not having this. Producer Tilly's on my lap. But he started in Phoenix. He did Laughing Skull, and a lot of industry saw him there and loved him there. And I would say, if I probably asked him, he'd probably be like, yeah, I got a lot of opportunities off of these festivals I did, these bigger festivals. There's one in Montana too. It was like Big Sky. And a lot of comedians that now, like household names, probably did one of those, or they did Just for Laughs, or they were on New Faces, Just for Laughs in Montreal. So there's a lot of ways in which to find talent. So I don't know if Kevin Hart started that way. Maybe some industry saw him in another city. I don't know. Or maybe he is a plant. We don't know. But the industry will pick. They'll pick what they're looking for. And even if you necessarily don't have it, if you don't have the writing, if you don't have the scripts, I've seen like friends of mine get called in for big meetings with like, big networks and things. And they were like, okay, what do you have? And sometimes if you're good enough, and by good enough, I mean, if you are the kind of performer, person, look that they're looking for, that they think they can brand and mold into whatever they have, they don't care. But if you're not, and they like you, but they're like, I had a friend who got like a meeting with CBS, like it was a big deal. And then they were like, what do you have? And she was like, not my stand up. And they were like, okay, well, why don't you go to UCB and take some improv and sketch classes and maybe script writing? So it just depends. There are some people that they'll be like, that's fine. We will make that for you. We'll help you get that if you are that kind of type that they're looking for. Yeah, it was about to be a fight. And I was like, oh no. Oh no. But yes, then you have this. Nicole says it's someone the industry picks, the plant, because they will do whatever they want them to do in return for fame and fortune. And I think that's essentially what, that Illuminati rumor has been. Like, you have to give up something, maybe like a family member or something. It's creepy, even if it's at the expense of your community morals. But I mean, I would say there are definitely people. I mean, Hollywood, yeah, there's definitely people who they don't care. Like, they'll step over anyone, they'll give up anything. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. That fame, that pull for fame and fortune is, it is big, and it's strong. And some people, they don't care, but they don't realize that the thing that I always remembered going into doing anything is, no matter what profession you're in or what you're trying to succeed at, is something my grandpa used to say as well, is you can't take this with you. So when you go to whatever's after this, afterlife or not, you can't take any of this with you. Any of this worldly possessions, any money, any fame, you can't take it with you. You can take memories, experiences, the love in your heart or some shit, but you can't take this with you. And none of it really means that much. So when you're sitting on your deathbed, if that's the case, you hear these stories about people writing or talking about, 10 things I wish I knew. And it's always kind of, spend more time with your family, focus on what you love and your loved ones, spend less time at work. You don't really see a lot of people, unless they just hate everyone they know, saying, I wish I would have spent more time at work. It's like, travel, get these experiences, but like the money, the cash, that you can't take none of this shit with you. So it's like, how much are you willing to sacrifice of yourself to get this fame that's fleeting? It doesn't last. In a second, it can be gone, unless you kind of do a Katt Williams type thing and you create your own, platform, you create your own brand, you're in charge of, your material, and you have, you have the rights to all of it. You don't sell that. And then you don't answer to anyone but yourself and your audience. So, I mean, That's interesting. Jaleel says, Katt self-made and can't be controlled. When they tried to crucify him, it almost sabotaged his career. Go Cats. Yeah, I mean, they have not been able to. They have not been able to.
He just did his documentary with Chris Rock where he shows you that his whole upbringing in comedy was on the East Coast.
Yeah, it was.
So how simultaneously was he here in Los Angeles doing the same thing? It didn't happen. It didn't happen. And I hate to seem like a petty individual for picking apart lies, but Jussie Smollett gonna keep lying until you say we don't believe you. Like, it's important in the checks and balances of the universe that liars not get to make complete narratives for themselves.
Are you not afraid about being blackballed again? These are some power people.
What do you mean again? These people are not powerful. Satan can't create anything. That includes blessings for his people. That's why, you know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job. Why do you think Gary Owen can't cross over and he already white and been in comedy for 25 years? If what I say ain't the case. It's a cabal. It's a consortium. They rock with who they rock with and they don't with who they don't. But I'm not scared of being the competition any more than you were when you lined up across from a superior team. Yeah, on paper, they're a better team.
Right.
They have all the assets and resources that we don't. But let us get on the line, boy, and see if that factors in. I guarantee you it won't.
Wow.
Because Shannon Sharpe got to be a different person than that other person.
Absolutely.
And he always was. That doesn't.
The way he brings Shannon into it, like making these references and comparisons to football, and then Shannon's like, "Oh, this is intense, but okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense." I mean, it's Katt Williams. He knows what he's doing.
Change when I change teams. That remains the same. That's how a legacy is built. So all of these shortcut takers, they canceled me for talking about Harvey Weinstein before the thing came out, but he offered to suck my penis in front of all my people at my agency. What am I supposed to do?
100,000,000% believe Katt Williams in this. I mean, I could easily, obviously, Harvey Weinstein discussing so many gatekeepers like him, nasty, perverted, and you'd be surprised. These people are supposed to represent you in these agencies, how they will look the other way and how they did for so many people in this industry, men included, you know, where they were going to protect this man, you know, because they had this huge vested interest in him and what's not the pee-pee.
He did all of that. I'm thinking I'm the only black person on the script. I get there, it's 3 other black guys on there. Woo. Huh.
So you wonder what they did to get there.
I told him no. What y'all do? And this is why
the pee-pee.
When I walk in a room, heads go down. Behind my back, I'm nothing. I'm just a regular old comedian that's bitter and jealous. But in my face, no. The king has walked in and they have to respect it only because...
You do know with these Hollywood ass fakes, you know that seeing someone who, right, Katt, well, he doesn't have nothing to lose. He doesn't have anything to lose. So you know that they would find it hard to make eye contact with this man. And that's kind of like the beauty of all this, is to know that he exists in this world and walks in, they're like, but behind his back, what is he? I mean, there were Kevin Hart interviews previously kind of saying that what Katt Williams addressed, that he was unprofessional, he showed up high, all these things. I think he said it on The Breakfast Club years ago. So, I mean, this was a long time coming for Katt Williams to speak out on this. But you know that these people... You know that's true. I could totally see him walking in and there's like this, because if you're a truth teller and like on a little level, I feel that way about myself in a lot of regards, is that I'll say things and I'm like, I don't care. You know, there's been on a small level of entertainment situations that me and my husband laugh about as comedians, and times I've spoken up where people have been like, do. And I'm like, it's the chuckle fuck hut in, you know, Nebraska. We can speak up against this. This is bullshit. You know, I remember there was a woman booker that was at one of these festivals, and she was talking about how she was just really like overtly sexist about, now women comedians, you need to dress better and you can't be showing up looking all sloppy. And she was saying all this stuff, and they have these panels at these festivals so that you can hear from industry and talk to them, and people act, oh, you should see how some of these comedians act. They're just like they're just like slopping up all this bullshit. Half these people have not a lot of power. You do have, you know, some that come in and they're like, I book for Jimmy Fallon and I book for do, you know, and I'm with this agency. And then but some of them it's like she's the chuckle fuck, you know, hut fuck, you know, booker in the middle of nowhere, and she's taking herself way too seriously because she owns like 3 chuckle fuck huts. And so she's out there being like, and she said nothing about the dudes. And I'm like, I asked the question, I'm like, why do women got to dress up to be on stage when I see it should be based on how comfortable you are. You should be able to wear whatever the fuck you want. Like this, what are you talking about? You know, you didn't tell the guys what they got to wear. Why do I got to show up in like a skirt if I'm telling jokes and I don't wear a skirt in my normal life, or I don't dress up? I should be able to wear a flannel. Like it's comedy. It's comedy. People show up in whatever fits them. Why are you? She's like, I got to remind women, you got to shower. I'm like, shower? What is this? And no one else said shit. And me and my husband were laughing because he's like, of course you said something. And then they're all going up to this lady afterwards saying, I got a lot to get booked. And I'm like, I get that's how the beast works, is, you know, but it's like, at what point do you stand up for yourself and you draw the line? Like, that was ridiculous. You know, it's not like she was the gatekeeper to all of the Netflix. You know, it was the Chuckle Fuck Hut. You know, it was some little funny boner or something. I don't even remember. But everyone was just like, all these women, these other comedians who were like, I'm a feminist, I love sticking up for women. They were like, because they just want to get ahead so bad. They want to be on the road and stuff. And I'm like, but you don't have to like go to every club. Like you can have standards. So on that tiny little level in my own life, like I relate to what Katt Williams is saying. And I'm sure everyone who, you know, is enjoying these truth-telling interviews can relate on some level, whether you're at your workplace and you see people that want to, you know, they want to get ahead so bad they're willing to overlook shit in the office. You see it in corporate America and you're like, what? No, don't be like that. Or they'll throw their coworkers under the bus to get ahead and you're like, oh my God, you people have no shame. So in that regard, I'm like,
because I've not taken the shortcuts. I've not been funded. They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about. They tell you that themselves. I can't do that because Steve told you that he stopped doing stand-up because he had 7 TV shows. The only problem is when he stopped stand-up, he didn't have those 7 TV shows. He stopped stand-up because he got in a comedy battle called the Championship of Stand-Up Comedy with one Katt Williams in Detroit in front of 10,000 people and lost because Katt Williams said he was actually bald and that was a wig. And I went in and that's why he couldn't do stand-up anymore. Imagine him coming to tell you another story where he got so big and it was Bernie and them's fault because they wanted to be movie stars. What?
No offense, all offense, but if there was like, you're like, show me a picture of someone who will sell out, I think Steve Harvey's face would pop up in this situation. Like, kind of.
You called Ocean 11 to get that nigga's part. What do you mean you didn't want to be a movie star? So on the behalf of Bernie, I would have to say what I have to say.
Have you ever been on tour with any of these guys?
Every guy I mentioned to you is not funny out there in real life. So no. Faison's never done his own tour in 30 years. Steve Harvey don't do stand-up no more. Cedric doesn't write. I'm sorry, he doesn't write. Ricky Smiley has been playing the same old black woman forever. Like, you can't get a young fan base with that. Like, you got to be doing karaoke around the country to make that work.
Right.
And he is. But I'm a stand-up comedian. This is my 19th 100-city tour. I'm not going to have a conversation with these lazy bums that'll take a shortcut at any point. Yes, it's easier for you to juice than to get in the gym. But you don't get to bring that body in here talking crazy.
Talk about how good you look.
What? No, there's too many comics out there that are putting their life on the line to tell these jokes, man.
Okay. Let's get to your upbringing. We're going to circle back and we'll get some,
I want to protect it real quick because you had said for the Kings of Comedy, it was in 2018, 2019, but did you mean 1999? Because it came out in 2000, so I just want to make
No. So what I meant to say was, remember, he said, I couldn't do stand-up anymore. I had 7 TV shows. I said he didn't have any of those TV shows at the time.
I know you talking about Cedric.
Joke stealing from Cedric.
Yeah, Cedric.
So
Okay,
you have said that
okay.
2018, 2019, but it came out in 2000, so I just want to make sure.
Okay, no. What comes out in 2000?
The original Kings of Comedy.
So he called Steve Harvey out for saying, "Oh, I had all these TV shows, I couldn't do stand up anymore." And Katt Williams is like, "No, you couldn't do stand up anymore because you got embarrassed." And you don't do stand up, like you just don't do it. You didn't have those opportunities. But then they're talking about the joke thievery, the alleged joke thievery from Cedric the Entertainer, and when Katt Williams jokes that he did on BET when they aired compared to when Cedric did the Kings of Comedy and then allegedly stole his joke.
The comedy,
right? I'm on BET's Comic View, and they're using this as the commercial in 1998. Okay. That's why I'm saying. Yeah. So if I said the dates wrong, let's go ahead and
clear that up.
Okay.
You said, I had Cedric on here and I asked him about the joke stealing, and he said the timeline doesn't add up.
Correct.
To that point, you say.
Right. So he thought that I was just a no-name comedian and that he could take this joke and nobody would know.
Right.
The issue was that I had already done this particular joke on BET's Comic View twice.
Right.
It had done so well on BET's Comic View that they had made it part of the commercial. So part of the commercial of make sure you tune in to BET was you seeing me doing this joke.
Right.
And this joke is one of those jokes in comedy where you set it up and it takes a little longer to set it up, takes about 3 minutes, but then you're just hitting them with jokes after that because you don't have to set it up.
Right.
Mark Curry had already helped me work on this joke because I thought it was good because I was getting a standing ovation on it. He had me go back in the lab and help me craft it to be an even more powerful joke. So this is not just a random joke. This is my very best joke, and it's my last joke, and it's my closing joke.
Okay.
1998, I'm doing this joke. It's on Comic View. Cedric comes to the Comedy Store. He watches me in the audience. He comes backstage. He tells me what a great job I did and how much he loves the joke. 2 years later, he's doing that as his last joke on the Kings of Comedy. And he's doing it verbatim. He's just changed my car into a spaceship. Him and Steve had already apologized for me, so I gave him a pass for a decade. Why would you sit here and be like, I saw Katt 30 times and Katt didn't do, as I stand before you, Shannon, I would have bust Cedric's stomach. There was nothing that would have kept me from one of these in that patch right there. Like, are you kidding me? Why would you downplay me like that? Why did I give you a pass if you were just gonna lie? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, they're all a group. Cedric, Steve, Ricky, they've been a group. Everybody knows that. They've been aligned. And there are these alliances in comedy. And if you stand against them, then they sometimes have a problem. But we don't let that change the content because that's all you know me for, is that I'm quite likely to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Now, I'm reading Katt Williams won Cedric the Entertainer's Anheuser-Busch Best Los Angeles Comic Award. Did you win that award, one Katt Williams?
They had a Cedric the Entertainer LA Comedy Award, and he's saying Katt Williams won that award.
It's a simple yes or no. It's not a rhetorical question.
It's a question that probably should have been asked to Cedric the Entertainer.
I'm asking you. I got you here, though.
I know. I couldn't believe Cedric didn't get asked that question. You still a dude's joking and giving an award, and then 10 years later, you don't know nothing about it. Hey, but I promise you this.
What?
If he sees me again before he sees you, he'll be talking different when you see him. That's for certain. That's the difference. That's what these comics understand, is that I'm not doing nothing for clout. I don't even recognize clout. But eventually the Lord is going to let me and you be in one hallway. A lot of these dudes go, Kevin Hart done went 25 years without ever being in the same building with me at the same time. If I go in the building, he walk out. You've never seen us in the same building ever in 25 years. Like, it's like that. Why? Yes, because I'm really the product. It's not what you think. I am never under the influence of anything. I'm always in my right mind. I'm always a physical specimen. And when you see me, I'm much, much bigger than you had thought. I have far less play in me than you would like. And I'm relentless. I'm out there. I'm still, to this day, I play 11 games of basketball with a 20-year-old. The record is 92-6. This is just in the yard, just to the rack, just cause.
You work out, Kat? You work out, Kat?
Not to the gym.
You don't work out at the gym? You push ups, sit ups?
My whole life it was just push ups and sit ups only. I would do like 100 push ups a day. Just.
I thought you were gonna say 1,000.
No, because this is literally every day.
Right.
This is not for the gram. You know what I mean? Like literally 100 a day. And I would do push-ups, and then I tore both my rotator cuffs. And so
I just think that the authenticity speaks volumes to people, and whether you like Katt Williams or not, or whether you agree with everything he's saying is true, he's being authentically him, and he's saying what's his authentic truth. And we rarely see that out of performers and in the media. And you can tell there's just so much, people are afraid, obviously, because there is consequences and things. And there's some powerful people that he stood up against over the years. So it's just so fascinating. April, thank you so much. April says, Joleen, thank you for standing out to make us laugh by speaking your truth. The comedy industry is cutthroat, and I appreciate your authenticity. Thanks, April. That's so sweet of you. It is cutthroat. People think, I think there's been lots of comments. People are like, wow, I thought comedians were all friends. No, I hoped that it would be friendlier in comedy, but it is definitely competitive, and they set it up that way. Unfortunately, it would be better if it was a little more collaborative. I mean, it is a standalone sport. You're up there by yourself. You live and die up there by yourself in the performance aspect. So I understand that, but I think it's more fun when it's collaborative and everyone's cheering for everyone, because someone else's laughs aren't going to take away from my laughs. When someone does well, like let's say we're on a show together, or you're on a showcase show or something, and they do well before me, that to me, I'm like, I'm going to ride that wave. And then if someone bombs, I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to pick it up, because I like both of them. I think it's kind of easy to perform after someone who's performed really well if you can learn to ride that wave. And it is even easier when they do really bad, because you just like recognize that moment and you do the opposite of what they're doing. And that's, as performers, if you've gotten to a place where you feel you can be present on stage, I think that's really important. And not everyone wants to be. Some people want to tell their jokes. Some people, Mitch Hedberg, I mean, he didn't make eye contact, and he was a genius comedian, but he was really nervous. And so he would look down, he wore glasses, sunglasses and stuff. But yeah, it is cutthroat. And there are a lot of people who aren't friends. And there's a lot of comedians that you like that you probably don't ever want to meet in real life, because we're not the most pleasant of people all the time. And, but there are certain little cliques, you'll see you have, I mean, obviously you got a Joe Rogan clique, you got the dudes. There are some people who are aligned with Joe Rogan who are very funny. And there's some people who are not very funny at all. But getting that little, pat from Joe Rogan boosts them up. And all of a sudden they have a podcast. There is this freaking channel, Podcast Cringe, and they're hilarious. And a friend of mine told me about them, and I started watching their shit. And they're critical of the Joe Rogan kind of clique, but they dissect the videos and the topics they talk about regarding that clique in comedy in such a they do such a good job, like breaking down like Bert Kreischer or whatever the heck his name is, and all those comedians that are there, and just how it's like sometimes like comedians, they take themselves a little too seriously. But no, not Red Bar, but I've seen Red Bar stuff before. It's called Podcast Cringe is the channel, and I don't know who the person that runs it, but yeah, they do really good videos. It's just they use like clips and voiceover commentary, and I really enjoy it, because sometimes some of them do take themselves real seriously, and you're like, bro, what, you're taking your shirt off, and you might be getting the big crowds, but let's not pretend you're like saving lives over here. So it's got a dark ass side. I just watched, there's these documentaries they do about like comedians and performers, and there was one about Brett Butler. And if you guys remember Brett Butler, she was huge in the 90s, and Grace Under Fire was a role for her. And there's just so much, addiction and ego, and there's toxicity within the industry that of course it's going to bring forth this darkness, if you will, for lack of a better term. So it is wild though, because you think, well, it's laughing, and it's like no, it isn't like this jolly old good time and everything's positive. They have this thing that they say, tragedy plus time equals comedy, and not everyone subscribes to that, but it's true. Like a lot of the things you hear comedians talk about are things they went through in their lives, or things that aren't necessarily, they don't always come from, just like anybody. Everybody has their trauma. Everybody has their things that have happened to them in life, and you kind of take that and you work it into your art form. I mean, a lot of good comedians do that. You don't have to talk about that stuff, but most comedians, I think, kind of incorporate some aspect of their real life into their joke writing and joke telling. Alan, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for sharing Katt Williams with your audience. Not that he needs the exposure, but I'm sure a lot of new eyes are seeing him for the first time tonight. Love you. Thank you, Alan. That's so sweet. So sweet. Yes. Oh, Satra says, is this Busy Blues, Miss Jolene? It is. It is. It's my friend Busy Blue. This Just In podcast cringe is run by Monica from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, run by Reality Von Tees.
So it was only thanks to golf that I was even able to get my
You a golfer now?
back. I've been a golfer for quite some time. My short game is impeccable. I can't get you but 2 and some change off of the off the tee, but I'm still.
They're just talking about golf, so I'm gonna grab. We'll go over one more clip and then I'll probably wrap it up. But this is so. I wish Katt Williams would do more interviews because this shit is so interesting. Every time he decides to talk or give us a little truth telling session, there's always so much to dissect from it, and we'll probably have to do more videos about what comes out about this. Let's see, what's another one here. Which one do I want to? Well, this is where he talked about, because Katt was talking about how he was outing obviously Harvey Weinstein, which we saw in that clip we just watched, and also talking about Michael Jackson, Diddy, R. Kelly, all these things. Let's see, Dave Chappelle walking away, and he explains the Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey beef. Obviously, we saw the Money Mike. Apparently, Ludacris. He talked about Ludacris too. I don't know if I understood fully the Ludacris reference. I know he fully was like Ludacris sold his soul, I think, basically for Fast and Furious, and now there's been like 10 of them. And he said he's got a weird face wife too, but I looked her up and she's really pretty. And then Ludacris, I think, did a diss track back, and I'm like, I didn't listen to it. No shade to Luda, but I was like, what do we have to do a rap back on that? I'm not sure about that. Monica says, I love Brett Butler's show, but behind the scenes, yes, we're awful because of her problem. It's so sad. Comedians aren't always happy people, like you said. No, there's, you got to think, like, anyone who wants to go night after night, touring the country solo by themselves, trying to get the approval of strangers every night, most of who are intoxicated. That's not the healthiest of professions to seek or to go after. What about dental hygiene? That seems to be a little safer, a little more job security, a better retirement package, if you will. So you're gonna kind of attract maybe people with a more sordid past or addictions and things. So yeah. Oh, you're all about the tea roast. Those were the days. Yes. So it says, guilty. Yes, hit that like. Thank you, Satra. Hit that like. 277 likes, 371 watching. Hit that like, you guys. Okay, let's go over let's listen to. Oh, he talks about the Migos. I did not know he didn't say he gave the Migos a loan, but Shannon asked him if he had to give the Migos money, and he said, well, the Migos, I've never had an issue making money. Let's talk about the icon. Okay, let's talk about the icon who he bought the. I think there's, what was interesting about this video in particular, this interview, I should say, was that Katt Williams talks about his friendship with Prince. And Prince is someone who, obviously, Prince, a legend, and just a musical genius, gone too soon, R.I.P. Prince. But Prince was so philanthropic, and he was someone who gave so much, but never talked about it. And to find out that him and Katt Williams were really good friends, and to find out Katt Williams in a lot of ways is very similar to him in the philanthropy, but doesn't really talk about it. So things that we, most of what you see about Princesses here and says, I still have all about the team PTSD. Who doesn't? Oh my God. Hey, beef tips. I mean, it is crazy. But most times if a celebrity is doing anything, or any kind of person in the entertainment business with a following, they're filming it. Any good thing they do, it's on the Instagram. Like Katt Williams says, doing it for the gram. And it's not like that for everyone. And unfortunately, a lot of people, you don't find out till like after death, just how much they did for the community, for people, for others in their profession who were trying to come up. And that was something that we found out, or I did later with Prince, because he was so private with his life, which seems, Katt Williams with family and stuff prides himself on keeping that private, despite him, being such in the spotlight and in the public and in the media, and all the arrests and all those things, and the charges that kind of followed him. So it was interesting to hear him then talking about paying for someone to be on the Walk of Fame, and the stuff that I mean, I didn't know this information, and just how much he's helped other comedians, and how Shannon asked him, so some comedians that have worked with you have said like women just show up and hand them money. Apparently he'll see like, people that either work with him or like up and coming comedians who are killing it. He might give them a little blessing. He says, give them a little cash. Well, here you go. Here's a little bit. I wish he would give me a little blessing. That would be so great. If I ever had a lady come up to me and be like, Katt Williams would like to give you a blessing, I'd be like, oh my God, that's amazing. But so he would just do that. And you don't really hear that talked about, but there are comedians out there who give a lot of credit to Katt Williams and giving them opportunities and help and things. But it seems like he's doing a lot behind the scenes with helping people, like philanthropic type things, and giving different people money and stuff. So things you didn't know.
Generous man, Katt. You're the sole sponsor of Melba Moore getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You did all that on your own. Why? Do you have a personal relationship with Melba?
No. I understood that she was a Black woman in a time where it mattered what you look like, and they had a certain thing that they needed you to look like and act like in order to be successful.
Right.
And she just never did that. She wasn't tall enough. She wasn't fine. They didn't like her looks. They didn't like that her hair was natural. They talked crazy about her, and yet she still made all of these achievements. And I'm like, understand, I'm already in the Comedy Hall of Fame. I'm already going to heaven no matter what happens. If it ends in a second, I'm up there. So it gives me the leeway to do some things that are simply because it's the right thing to do. So the truth of the matter is they wanted to give me a star, but please don't consider me and this person been sitting on this list this whole time. And just because they ain't got enough money, they can't get their just due? That's crazy. When do you start? That's hurtful. What if somebody can't afford their flowers? You mean they don't get them? No, God don't operate like that. He was sending a dummy like me to come and take care of that. Just so that the right thing happens. That's how the universe works. But because remember, what am I spending my money on? I'm not spending my money on strippers. I ain't spending them on drugs.
Why not?
Like,
Stripper
what?
bar.
Because if I go in a strip club, I'm only trying to get her out of there.
Yeah.
I have no intention of her or any other people being in this position. If I see a girl I like at the strip club, I'm telling her, you don't have to strip no more after this. This could be your last day. How about that? Ooh. What would it be like just to leave it all? You ain't gotta be a whole nigga.
I don't even want you to go get your purse. Just leave it. We get new ID. We get new ID and credit card and social security card.
We don't need none of that.
None of that.
None of that. This life don't look good on you.
Yeah, shit.
You don't even look like a drug addict.
Got me thinking, Kat.
Right. You hear these athletes talking about, yeah, we was out there tricking. What? Why? You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. Stop paying people that you don't have no respect for. It sets it up bad for us. We got women out here can't find a man because they acting like him. You are alpha. Now the alphas all want these subservient husbands. You can't have one.
No. That ain't gonna happen.
It ain't gonna happen. Sorry about that. Okay, go ahead. Boy, you done got me canceled. How many times in this program? Where's the camera?
That's the thing. Everything he's saying is what you would expect Katt Williams to say, because this is kind of how he's always been. So whether you agree with his statement or not, that's who he is, and he's kind of unapologetically just saying. I mean, you wouldn't expect anything more. So when it's like you're gonna get me canceled, I mean, I think at this point he's unless secretly there is some P. Diddy stuff going on, there's going to be no way to truly cancel Katt Williams with everything that he has created for himself. So yeah, Prince, very, very philanthropic. And he never talked about that stuff. He never did it, for what we see so many people like thirsty now to just get people to know they're helping people. And they don't really do it because they want to do it. They do it because they want the reaction from people. And granted, there is no such thing as a truly unselfish deed in some way. There's no such thing as a selfless act in some way. With like basic philosophy, we know that you get something out of it, whether it makes you feel good inside to help others. That is a little bit you're getting. So nothing's truly selfless. But to be at the level that these guys are at and not, prior to this, us know much about what Katt has done, him not putting it all over social media, what he's done for other people. That's amazing in this day and age. Because nowadays people do anything. They give $5 to a homeless person. They're like, hey guys, I was just outside Chipotle and I saw this person who looked really hungry and I had an extra $5, so I gave it to them. What's your name, poor person? Jeremy. Jeremy wants to thank me. You're welcome, Jeremy. You get the help you need. Okay, guys, hit that like, hit me up on the PayPal if you want me to give more money to Jeremy. Bye-bye. Very rarely are you going to see someone truly just helping people without trying to get their roses for it and be like, I help people. You guys, look at me. I'm holding a hammer. I'm at, what's this called? Habitat for Humanity. Oh, I just hammered this. Okay, gotta go. And then they're gone. So it is like, I love when I see people who just fucking do shit because they truly just wanted to do it. They don't want all the recognition. They don't put the shit out there. That's not why they're doing it. So that is, that's amazing. Yeah, it's given Bethany. Everyone misses Prince. Prince is the freaking best. Prince is amazing. And how many relationships Prince had, even Dave Chappelle back in the day talking about his interactions with Prince and bathing himself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka and then playing like basketball and shirts and skins and stuff like, pretty cool. I would have loved to ever have met Prince or seen Prince live. And I'm from Minneapolis, from Minnesota, and I never saw him. Yep. So this is amazing what he's doing. So Melba Moore, basically they offered, as Katt was saying, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And he was like, well, knew about Melba. Now, was Melba not able to? I didn't understand fully that story. I know that he paid like $75,000 or something for her to get on the Walk of Fame, but you have to pay for your own Walk of Fame? If that's the case, that is crazy. So let's see. So on Thursday, August 10th, Melba Moore became the 2,760th person to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So the Tony-winning actress was part of the live performance category. But I wonder so as you can see, there's Lunel. As you can see, Katt and Melba, I'll share this little picture here from Vibe of them and her receiving her star. But interesting, like, was she on the list? Did he have to push for her? Is that what he's saying, to get on the list? I know he had to pay money. I guess I never thought. I just thought they'd contact you one day like they did Macaulay Culkin. And they're like, hey, you've been home alone long enough. Would you like to be on the Walk of Fame? And he's like, okay, I'm ready. I didn't know that there was more to it than that. I understand that it's like the powers that be that decide who's going to get their spot on the Walk of Fame. But I guess I didn't think you had to pay but again, I didn't know this story until I saw this interview, this conversation with Shannon Sharpe. Although I had no idea. So here's the picture, you guys. I just had to screen grab it. Okay, so here they are at the Hollywood Walk of Fame while she could not afford it. That is crazy. That after someone could work so hard in an industry that we know robs people of what they truly deserve. And you get the powers that be, you get the corporate interests, you get the behind the scenes people that are who really have nothing to do with the creativity of the project or any of that. And they are taking the biggest cuts out of it. And you would still make people pay. Oh my God. Starts the fun. That's going to be a long time. I had no idea you had to pay for your own star. Never even looked into it. Oh my God. $75,000. See, and it's these little things that I think are like really great stories. And, supporting people and, putting your ego aside and down to make sure that Melba gets recognized and she deserves it. And just because $75,000, that is a damn ripoff. They have enough money. They should be able to pay for that. I mean, yeah, 75. Someone's just going to piss on it. I lived in Hollywood long enough to know people take dumps on those things. They pee on them. It is the dirtiest city in the world. It is. There's cucarachas just crawling all over the place. People are sleeping there. That is no $75,000. Oh my gosh. JD says most of the time an organization like fan clubs or studios or whatnot will not pay for the star from what I heard. That is crazy. If you have this star who brought so much, whether you're an organization or studio, like you're saying, to your projects and things, you'd think you would want to help them and memorialize them in that way. So no, I'm serious. Dumps, like people, it is crazy. There was a guy in Hollywood that on Sunset and Fairfax, I think it was, there's a Rite Aid, probably still there. And he was what do you call him? The serial pooper? He projectile pooped right onto Fairfax. And I was like, I'm not going to that Rite Aid anymore. And that's where I picked up my prescriptions. I was like, I guess I'm going to be depressed. I can't get my depression meds because the serial poopers out there just squirting into the streets. It was really bad. It's a dirty ass city. There's a serial pooper. It was crazy. So I had no idea. So this is, again, so many things I didn't know. I'm glad that you guys are a lot smarter than me and you knew about this, but I never thought you had to pay for it yourself. Oh my gosh. The privilege, not everyone who is an icon or succeeded in Hollywood, we know, like I said, not all of them leave with that money or weren't screwed over in some way or didn't fall upon hard times. And yet, so just because you have a legend like this, just because she can't afford 75 G's to throw down on the Walk of Fame that someone's going to unfortunately doo-doo on, she doesn't get memorialized in that way. That's a shame. Horrible.
I didn't write nothing. I said tonight. It's all been on these cue cards, and I'm just gonna keep reading them.
That was an honor too.
You adopted 7 kids. Why? That's a lot of kids for a man that's as busy as you are, travels as much as you do, on the road as much as you are, spend a lot of time because you have to spend a lot. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, maybe it comes so natural to you to put pen to paper and to write things down and be able to go out there and perform a set. But that's a lot of responsibility, Katt.
Right. But if there was a God, what would he think about you if you did that? I'm saying let's say, for example, that God is real.
Yes.
Okay. And let's say he be looking at what you do.
Yes.
What would he say if you did that?
He said, Katt, that's a very kind gesture. That's very generous of you.
My whole life, since I was telling you when I was young and they was asking me what I wanted to be and nothing I wanted to be was what I wanted to be God's friend. That's a weird thing if you're an atheist. If you're an atheist, I didn't even say nothing. But if you believe in God and I tell you that I wanted to be God's friend and I wanted to even go to Hollywood and still be God's friend.
I've honestly never heard anyone who is particularly spiritual or religious, if you will, or just a person of faith ever say they wanted to be God's friend. That was when he said that, I was like, oh, he just wanted to be God's friend.
Told you that was my aim. You can understand where I'm at. Like, I promise you.
And it's interesting. That's why watching this whole interview conversation is so, I mean, I recommend it because he talks about, you know, his past, his childhood, and growing up within a pretty religious family. I don't know what the particular religion was, other than I assume it fell under the Christian faith, maybe, but maybe not. He talks about so much having to do with his childhood and just how smart he was as a kid. Now, he did say he read 3,000 books a year, and I'm like, is that? I might need receipts on that. I don't know if you can come up with that, but I mean, how is that? But I don't know. He like got into college early. He excelled. I didn't know any of this about Katt Williams. Nothing. Oh, Jehovah's Witness. That means he couldn't. I had friends who were Jehovah's Witness and they couldn't celebrate their birthday. And as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, why would God take your birthday away? And I'm sure there's reasons. I don't know enough about Jehovah's to know. But I wouldn't be Jehovah merely because I need my birthday. And I was raised Catholic, and not saying I'm Catholic now, but we got to celebrate our birthday, you know. Okay, let me get back to this thing here.
No jealousy, no bitterness, none of that. I got exactly what I was trying to get. I haven't been shorted in any way.
I mean, 7, 8 kids, single. You gonna get married?
You remember the conversation where it was me?
Yes.
And I didn't know what was going to happen to my 2 little brothers, and it was just going to be out there?
Yes.
So when it comes full circle, and I'm one of the richest men that ever lived. And I don't mean, please don't look at my net worth. I saw my net worth. I had that on me. I don't need. I swear to God.
The way Shannon laughed. And then he was talking about how he left home when he talks about leaving his brothers behind. He said he had one brother in Pampers and one was like a toddler or something. And he left home at 13, 14 years old from Ohio and went down to like the truck stop, and he went to Florida because he heard there was no snow, there was warm weather. And so he and his little baby Rottweiler, his little baby puppy, he went down to freaking Florida and started a life down there at that age, having nothing. He kind of stumbled his way into comedy, living in multiple places, and then won a contest where I think he went to open for like, I don't know who at the time, if he said Jeff Foxworthy or Larry the Cable, I can't remember exactly, but he does reference him, and he references Ron White, and he references some of these guys in that. But he was like a kid, which similar to a Chappelle story, in that Chappelle started stand-up very, very early too, as like a teenager, which a lot of these guys do. And I feel like, oh my God, I started at 29. I was so late to the party. He's 14 years old doing stand-up comedy. I would never have been that brave.
What I'm saying is, like, I'm saying my net worth is less than my last Netflix deal. You understand what I'm telling you?
It makes sense.
But I'm fine. Jesus was poor. Jesus ain't had nothing. So why don't we be mad you say I don't have nothing?
They had the amenities they had back then, okay?
Say it again.
We got different amenities now.
Not more than gold. Gold was the amenity of that time. We still got gold. Gold still running.
They have the Rolls Royce. They got you can buy an ass. That's what they call it in the biblical time. It was cheap.
I'm saying if you really want to say, I'm saying a Cullinan is cheap. So back in the day, I would get my girl a donkey. Today we get her a Cullinan. But I'm saying whoever, whatever it is, I'm saying I'm saying because what we gonna do? I done already told you I'm one of the richest people that ever lived.
Yes.
Only in the fact that when I wake up in the morning, no matter where I am, I don't need nothing. Whatever I need is right around me. And whatever I don't have, it's only just because I don't have it. It's not because I can't get it. All I got to do is want it, and it belongs to me. So because of that, because I'm favored.
You know, Steve Harvey's pissed about that because he's like, I don't even sleep. He's got all this money. Check it out. Thank you so much for the super chat. His parents were super intellectual. Well, I mean, it sounds like I did not know any of that about Katt Williams' childhood. Just how smart and advanced he was. Yes. Bill Engvall and Larry the Cable Guy. He references both of them. B. Bean says his net worth is $2 to $5 million on the internet. You can never know what these internet ones. They talk about the housewives too, and I don't know if they're correct because his Netflix specials are I think he said 8 figures now, and Shannon was really surprised by that. So we'll see.
By God, like when I see people's wives and stuff, I don't even look at them. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to look at nothing I don't want to have. Because
he said he doesn't even look at people's wives in the eyes. He says he's so favored and he's so blessed that he gets mostly what he wants. So he doesn't want to be disrespectful and look at your wife in the eye because he's gonna get her because he's God's friend.
Because I know how blessed I am. If I look at it, I got it.
Yeah.
That's how Diddy be feeling.
Now, come on.
He said that's how Diddy be feeling.
So you're not supposed to look at anything that you don't want.
Not me personally, just because God has given me literally everything I ever even pump faked like I want. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing is I don't have a type of woman. Every woman that I ever had as a type, I ended up getting her. Now she's not the type anymore. Now I understand that every woman is a one of one. Like you can't really have types. Mm-hmm.
What?
Because see, I tried to ask me something about marriage, but then
I ain't said nothing about no marriage.
Yeah, you did. When you rewind the tape, you let it out. You was like, so you.
I love this part because Shannon totally forgot that he did mention, so are you ever going to get married, Kat? And then he's like, I didn't mention anything about marriage. And Kat's like, yeah, you do. I have a photographic memory. And I remember that shit. And I was like, he did say something because I rewound it to see if he did. And sure enough, he had just said that. Panther says, my mother and pops told me stories of people living with their parents' house very young, people living in their parents' house very young in the South, or people kind of living on their own. I feel like, yeah, that nowadays it's people are living with their parents even longer because they can't afford to buy houses and stuff. So, oh my gosh. B. Bean says Steve Harvey's net worth in 2024 is estimated to be in the vicinity of 200 million. Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
You ever gonna get married? And then you took it back. It's okay. It's okay. I wasn't on the photographic memory.
Are you?
I'm not against it. Like most people that are not married is because they're afraid of commitment. It's not that like that for me. It's just the whole time I wanted to be married, I had kids, so I had to try to fill my wife's place before she got there. So I'm already got kids without a mother, but so now I got to be doing laundry. I'm washing dishes. I'm reading stories. I'm having to nurture. I'm having to do all of this, and I got to the point where I didn't need the wife. I'm doing it, and we're doing it, and I'm not replacing a woman in their lives. I'm letting them see that that's just the only thing that we don't have, and it was easier for me to do that because you have to understand that all of the kids I'm raising at this point, they have fathers. You see? They have a mother. You see? I'm a different person. I'm raising you. And so that needs to be done with the other respect for the others that put work in as well. So yeah, I never had a problem getting married.
What's one of the one things you try to teach your kids?
I actually love the idea that he never did get married because there's nothing worse than now what you're seeing again with Kevin Hart. And I hate to bring him up again, but shit, you see these people, they get married, they do this family thing, and then all you hear is infidelity. And you're like, why did you get married? Why? I remember like the George Clooney effect. You know, he didn't get married for so long. People are like, why? And because he just wanted to slut it up. He wanted to be a slutty buddy. And I think more people should do that. If you don't want to commit, and if you got money and you have all these options, especially like rich men for the most part. Oh my God. You hear these stories, so much infidelity because they're like, well, I got all these options. Well, then don't get married. don't get married. Just be a slut on your own, because I'm so tired of hearing these stories about, I mean, I know that's part of the Kevin Hart's lawsuit right now against Tasha K, is these allegations from this assistant. He said was never an assistant, or no, I mean, she was an assistant, but she signed an NDA. And her making up claims, and there's been infidelity claims in the past. And it's just like, oh, and these guys are so messy and they can't ever hide. What happened to just hiding an affair? Can't you get good at lying? Plus, I don't even think it's possible anymore, because now the same way with the social media clout you get from charity, you get social media clout from freaking sleeping with people. I remember Adrian Peterson, the Minnesota Vikings. Bleh. I mean, Minnesota Vikings is my husband's football team and should be mine, but I don't really like foosball. No offense, Shannon, you're great. But Adrian Peterson, I knew a girl who was like Adrian Peterson's Monday Night Girl, and they just had all the, and I don't even know if he probably wasn't married at the time, but you have these women who, and this was like, I thought somewhat a smart person that I knew, but they were just waiting their turn. So it's like, well, I'm Adrian Peterson's Monday girl and this Adrian Peterson's Tuesday girl. And I'm like, what? But you see this with married people too. So you're not gonna be able to hide it anymore. These celebrity men, they think, oh, I've got money and power and all these women want me. It's like, wow, I mean, it's a Hollywood transactional relationship. They want you, these younger, prettier women, because you got the money, and you want them because you're rich and you can afford them. They don't really want you if you were just Joe Blow working at the post office or down at the 7-Eleven. They wouldn't even talk to you. They would probably file harassment charges on you. But, you know, now that you got a little bit of cash, now you're believing your own hype, and you know, you can have that transactional relationship where you're the older rich dude or the, you know, guy you see and he's with a woman and you're like, that does not make any sense. But when you're in LA and Hollywood, you're like, oh, that makes sense. He has money, you know. But half the time, I don't even think you could hide these anymore, because these women will come forward, they'll out you, and you kind of deserve it because you're sloppy and you're messy. And I'm so tired so tired of hearing about people's messy ass. I mean, I'll talk about it. I'm not about that. But sometimes it's like, oh, these married people, like, just stop it. Just please stop. Oh yeah, and that Ashley Madison or Ashley Whoreface, I don't remember. No offense, all offense. The name of it, I think it's Ashley Madison, where all these dudes were outed. They joined a website to cheat. Just get divorced. Oh my gosh, they wanted to dip their wick in everything and anything else. So it's refreshing that at least Katt Williams, you know, he's like, hey, I'm not married. I'm not out here just like cheating on my wife left and right. Because you get some of these guys and you're like, oh my gosh. Oh, gross. Yeah, Tiger was so, I remember when that scandal broke. That was so gross. Yeah, people getting married to create families think it's a good look in business, but I'm just tired of it. It's like, oh, and another story breaks, like this rich celebrity guy cheated on his wife and kids, and he's got young kids, and I'm like, oh my gosh, a normal guy working like a regular job who wasn't rich, you don't have time without all these nannies and stuff to be cheating so much, and put the Cialis down. How are you getting all these boners? You don't deserve all these boners. You are not doing right with your wiener, sir. It is no.
I don't teach anybody anything that's over 18. I've done the work I was going to do, but
thank you,
as
April.
kids,
thank you, April, for the Cash App. I appreciate it. I'm just seeing it now. Thank you so much.
Tried to teach the things that can't be bought, your integrity, trying to live your life in a way that you yourself could be proud of if you had to look back on it. And I didn't do very good at leading by example, but behind the scenes, that's never what I was pushing. They understood that because of my stance, there was a certain thing that would come my way. Mm-hmm. And so accountability and responsibility is part of what you're teaching. Is right. That, you know, even if you're doing the greatest thing in the world, there's this thing called no good deed goes unpunished. Like there's a real Murphy's Law. Like basically in raising kids, you're just trying to give them a better manual and an outline of how life works than your parents gave you, you know? Right. And so that's how I did it.
So just overall, like this interview is I mean, it's days later. I am late to this interview. Like it popped up in my trending topics, but I was just like, I'll watch it later. I'll watch it later. And finally I sat down and I kept rewinding and watching. And I was like, holy shit, there's just so many gems, bombs, explosive, just like things happening. And it's been crazy ever since this, interview has come out, because like people have said in the chat, there really isn't a lot of people being like, oh, he's a liar, and anyone who is reacting to it. I mean, it was like weird. Ricky Smiley brought up his manager from 20 years ago on the phone on his radio show. They both sounded it just was like, you don't have to go through all, just admit like I might have changed history on the whole Friday thing. Sorry, I got carried away. Take the L, because it looks, I mean, again, his manager looked like he was terrified, like, oh, I think Katt's great and he's the best and he's awesome and but you're essentially saying he's a liar. So either say it or don't. Like, either say it. You can't be like, this dude is lying on me and not telling the truth, but he's so great, he's so talented. And I'm like, it just looked a little weird. It's really fascinating. I'm sure more gems will come out of this one as people react, because like I said, just Tiffany Haddish has posted, I think she posted like a jokey thing about him. Ice Cube has posted, or has put a video out, response saying basically he's not lying. And let's see, Cedric, I think Cedric did, but so many responses, but really no one, and a lot of people have co-signed what he said. People that weren't even mentioned or who were, privy to this information that he dropped. Yeah, the art of deflection. It's an art. It is an art. Thank you so much, Cammie. Correct. It's over 10 and 20 years they got paid. Say it and move, right? And don't try to make your impact, like he was saying. He was just, what it seemed like Ricky Smiley was doing is just to kind of boost himself. And I see this happen a lot on YouTube and online, and people just self-aggrandize, or whatever the word he was that he used, because he has a far better vocabulary than I do. But he is just trying to build up himself. And I see this online, whether it's, to gain favor or support or money on people that have YouTube channels. You can just say whatever. And I think that is kind of the point Katt Williams is making, is that you could just go on these podcasts and go on this World Wide Web and say whatever you want. And very seldom will things be fact checked. And then when they are checked, there's some kind of deflection or something. But people say a lot of shit, and people have revisionist history on a lot. And when they're called out, they don't love it. They don't love it. So very interesting. Great interview. And oh my goodness. So okay. Says Ricky also did an IG live with a producer from the First Sunday movie to prove his innocence. This is the comical part, and Ricky Smiley as a comedian should know that we're laughing. It's becoming funny, and you're not in on the joke right now because it looks silly. So all because Katt Williams says, after the Friday experience, he put it in his contract that if he ever worked with Ricky Smiley again, he'd have to be in a dress. And he asked Shannon, what was the next movie project, he did for Sunday, in a dress. And it's like, whether he's like doing that, whether Katt Williams is saying that for effect, or he's just, making a joke, or if that really did happen, like just, he does mention kind of, I think, metaphorically, and I mean, as what people have to do for the system, what they're willing to do. And I think one of it is you see a lot of these guys or performers ending up playing women, or that's like the comedic route they go down. He talked about that with Martin in Big Mama's House and him wanting to work with him. And then he called him in for like Big Mama's House 2, and he was like, no, I'm not doing that. So, I mean, I don't begrudge anyone that has to do any part they want to do. I mean, do what you want to do. But I think he's speaking to, I assume, the larger point that all of these, what kind of they make them all kind of do the same thing. What he's saying, these plants or these people who kind of sell out within the industry are all down a similar path. You know, they have similar looking wives. They're all playing women in a dress and rewriting history, right? Odelchik, he looks crazy when he reacts. When you dig up bones, and like not just bones, but people from back. No one would be talking about it, Ricky Smiley, but you're the one talking about talking about that movie that was so long ago. So he's going to go, actually, this is how it happened. But now you're digging up actual bodies and people to speak on this shit. Even the manager guy was like, well, I don't know. That was 20 years ago. He didn't even show up in person. He didn't show up on a video call. He was like, you can use my voice only and my headshot, and that's it. Because I do not want to, be affiliated with this. I don't want to be affiliated with this. I didn't know it was a thing either. And then I started like thinking about all of the comedians and stuff. And I'm like, oh shit, that is a very popular trope inside Hollywood and comedy, is to have these men playing women, which can speak to a lot of things in the industry, and also speak to the fact that they just don't even want women playing women anymore. They just like, they hate us so much. They're like, have the boys put a dress on. That's it. Like, and they just don't even care. Cedric also responded with a video still denying he stole the joke. I mean, sir, you're on a popular, I think, CBS show. You're doing well for yourself. Just maybe admit it, since it seems like you already did. And the thing is, people can pull up the receipts. You can pull up the video and you can see whether it is parallel thinking or it is directly a rip off of the joke, and you just replace like one word, or, you can tell. I mean, you definitely know. It's kind of like the thing we talked about earlier with Carlos Mencia and Ari Shafir's joke. I mean, Carlos was accused by quite a few people of stealing jokes. So you got to own it. You got to own it. Oh my goodness. Nobody wants the cat smoke. I wouldn't want it. I'll tell you, if he knew secrets about me, I would just be like, yep, that's true. Nope, I never did that. Because what he's told us is he will put it out there. Thank you, Alex. Yes, definitely. Them big dick demons. He talked about some big, serious things in such an entertaining way. I mean, who the frick watches anyone for 3 hours? People will watch, but 30 plus million people watch Katt Williams in an interview that's almost 3 hours. That does not exist in the TikTok world. That does not exist. All of you wonderful people have been here for almost 3 hours, but oh my gosh, he replaced this with a spaceship, allegedly. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right, you guys, don't forget to hit that like on the way out. Thanks for joining in the conversation and the roast and recap. Shout out to my super chatters. Chickenhead, thank you so much for the super chats. Care Bear, thank you for being a member for 28 months of my YouTube channel. I appreciate you so much. Care Bear, also a wonderful mod. Alan, thank you so much. Chickenhead, April, thank you for the Cash App. I got that. I wish I would have got the notification right when I got it, but an hour ago. Thank you so much. You guys are all amazing and awesome. Don't forget to hit that like on your way out, comment after the video, post, and I'll be back soon. We'll probably be talking about this again because stuff keeps coming up and people keep talking, and I'm sure Ricky Smiley is going to dig up another body to talk about it, and we'll be here for it. All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and always remember to enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Bye. If you like what you